The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be? Me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. I, of course, am your commander-in-chief, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. A couple of items to get to tonight. First and foremost, I heard your jokes, okay? All right? I beat all of y'all. I got here on time. Stick that in your pipe and smoke it, right? But seriously, a big shout out to Sonny Rawson and my guy Twin D for signing up for the LTN lifestyle trip to the Dominican Republic. Still have time to get in before the early bird special is up at the end of the month. The link is going to be in the description of this video if it's not already there. Let me check just to see if it's there or not. If it's not there, and it is not, I will put it there right now and make sure that you have access to it. If the mods are out there, you can also drop that link down in the comment section of the video. I will start that off by doing it right now myself. So I want to give a big shout out to those two individuals for setting the tone, getting it done. And I look forward to chopping it up with you guys already. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to kicking it with y'all, getting to know y'all even better than, we already think we know each other. These are the types of environments where you really foster those types of relationships and you really get to know somebody, right? So I look forward to doing that with all of you who attend the trip. I look forward to competing against y'all because while we all fam, right? I always talk about this environment that we fostered and this brotherhood and this family environment that we've created. But I'm also a fierce competitor. I've told y'all this almost to a fault, right? It's almost to my detriment at times. So I know we're going to get into some competing in certain instances. And yeah, I'm looking to bust y'all ass there too. But looking forward to having some fun with y'all. And the link is now in the comment section of the video. So if you want to head over there now or after this video and sign up, pay your registration fee and reserve your spot, by all means, please do so. We'll talk more about that trip throughout the night and going forward throughout the rest of the time period between now and the trip itself. So with that said, hope you all are doing great tonight. OTAs has gotten off to a rousing start. I'm excited. I've been telling y'all this. I'm excited about everything that's transpiring and taking place. I think the people who know are taking notice, right? The people who are aware of what we're building and what we're trying to establish here are taking notice. I think you're going to see a lot of people who most will deem as haters with crazy predictions. But all in all, this is how you do it if you want to win and be a sustained winner. This is how you do it. This is how you build a winner. You don't take shortcuts. Yeah, so many people wanted to go sign this guy or go sign that guy, go trade for this player or trade for that player. And, I put out a video on behalf of Bleacher Report the other day that was entitled, so some of you, I think, took it literally, and it's entitled Wild Off-Season Trade Ideas, okay? It's called Wild Off-Season Trade Ideas for a reason, because it's not something that you see happening, and they're a bit far-fetched. I even started off the video by saying, I don't think any of these are going to take place. Now, I would be interested in trading for a guy like Patrick Surtain, but at the end of the day, I'm more of the mindset of let's just build this thing through the draft, continue to spend wisely, see if you can find your own Patrick Surtain the second, right? Again, easier said than done. This was a top 10 pick. You were talking about it, Patrick Surtain, and I don't plan on us having a top 10 pick again for the foreseeable future. Like, if everything goes to plan and this team is what I think they could be, which is a 6-7 win team, 6 wins will put you in that 9-10 range, right? We get to 7 though. 7 should put you outside of the top 10. 7 should put you at 12 or 13 or 14, somewhere in that neighborhood, right? Which is where I expect us to be, somewhere in that 11, 12, 13, 14 range come draft time, right? You win 6 games and now you're hovering around top 10. You're at 10, you're at 9, you're at 8, 7, somewhere in that neighborhood. So, the difference between one win and drafting top 10 or drafting outside of it is huge, right? We saw that last year. We came down to percentage points in terms of strength of schedule as to us getting the number 2 pick or the number 4 pick. It came down to percentage points. We all had the same record. Washington, New England, and Arizona all had 4 wins. It came down to percentage points. And our strength of schedule is what ultimately bailed us out. We had the weaker strength of schedule between the Patriots. And you could really chalk that up to our division. Had we played in a division like the AFC East, for instance, where the Patriots played, where they had 2 teams make the playoffs, so did we. But the Jets, who was the next team in their division, was better than the Giants were, right? The Cardinals had a division where they had 2 playoff teams as well, right? And then the third team that didn't make the playoffs in that division was Seattle, and they barely missed out on the postseason. So again, we were the beneficiaries of our schedule just being a little bit weaker. But I don't anticipate us being in the top 10. But I said all of that to say this. I like the way things are being done in Washington. I'm very optimistic about the future of this franchise, more optimistic than I've been since probably 1999, to be honest with you. Hell, even 2000 when they went out and spent money on, I didn't know that it was going to be something that we would mock, for years to come. That 2000 Redskins team and roster and the acquisitions of Bruce Smith and Deion Sanders and Jeff George and Mark Carrier and so forth and so forth. I didn't know that team wasn't going to put us over the hump, and all those acquisitions were going to make us the laughing stock of the league a year or 2 later. I didn't know that at the time. So I'd probably say maybe even 2000, I was very optimistic because of what we did in 99, and then you add in the free agents and whatnot. I haven't been this optimistic since probably then, right? So, and you might be able to argue 2005. We actually won a playoff game, and Gibbs was back, and you could see the wheels turning. Maybe 05, but if we're talking about 99 or 05, it means it's been a long time. It's almost been 2 decades plus almost, and depending on which one you go with. So, I'm ecstatic about the status of this organization. The OTAs have gotten me even more excited. Did you see that they got and Dan Quinn mentioned this yesterday at his presser, and he's been talking about trying to figure out what guys can and can't do. And we talked about that yesterday in particular on the show. And he referenced wanting to kind of test players out to see what they could do. And one of those things we talked about yesterday was Emmanuel Forbes fielding punts. Something else that, and somebody had asked me this probably a week or 2 ago, like, you think Jamon Davis will get moved to defensive end? I'm like, no, he's not being moved. Now, I said he'll rush the quarterback more. He'll stand up, in a 2-point stance and rush, and they'll move him around and they'll blitz him and things of that nature. But him actually putting his hand in the dirt and rushing the quarterback, nah, I don't see that happen. And I still don't. But they're trying him out as a defensive end. They've got him putting his hand in the dirt. You know, they've got him come exploding out of his stance and seeing how he does with that. And you know, again, you're not going to figure that out right now, I don't think necessarily. You know, you can see if he possesses the movement skills and maybe some explosion out of his stance, maybe an explosive first step. But I don't know if you're really going to be able to gauge if he can, you know, be a legitimate pass rusher or not this time of the year. I think that's something you would, you know, you test the waters now, but you won't really get a definitive answer until the pads go on, I believe. At least when guys have helmets on, pads on, you can be a lot more physical with guys. No one's trying to hurt each other. No one, you know, not trying to hurt anybody in general, but no one's trying to be extremely physical with one another right now, right? You're competing, right? Anytime you're out there, you're going to be highly competitive, but no one's trying to be super physical with one another right now. So I do think it's interesting that they're giving him a run there as, you know, a guy that can try to maybe get off the edge and get to the quarterback. But when they're doing 7-on-7s, he's still out there at linebacker, and I still foresee him being a backer with this team. And the vast majority of snaps that he plays this year, I firmly believe will be at linebacker, if not all of them at linebacker. But don't mistake this. I do think they're going to allow him to rush after the quarterback, which is something that we said that we thought he should have been doing all along, is getting after the quarterback a little bit more, being a blitzer and someone that you utilize his speed and his ability to close and trying to get to the quarterback. I just don't think he was given enough opportunities to do that. And there were some terrible blitz packages, you know, when he did blitz, but it was so obvious where he's coming from that he was, you know, immediately picked up. You know, those are the types of guys with Jamon Davis type of speed and the ability to close. Those are the guys that you want to get free, right? You want to set up a blitz where you overload a side, they slide protection, and then you send him from the opposite side and nobody accounts for him, and now he's coming scot-free off the edge. That's the kind of stuff you want to do for a guy like Jamon Davis with that kind of speed. You just want to be able to let him run in a straight line, unabated, nobody touching him, and see if he can't get there and really create, you know, havoc on the play. I think you'll see more of that now with, you know, Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr., et cetera, et cetera. I know you guys have seen some of the passes. You know, the Commanders social media team, which has done a phenomenal job. We've talked about that. Put out a couple of clips. One in particular, the Jahan Dotson clip, which is a part of my thumbnail, which is a dope catch. First of all, you know, everybody's going to rant and rave about the throw and catch, and you should. And that should be the first thing that is the topic of discussion when you see that play. I would just also say, did you see the coverage by Michael Davis on that play? That was airtight coverage. Like, that ball had to be where it was to be completed. If it wasn't, it's incomplete. Anywhere else, that ball was out high, outside shoulder, right? Away from the defender. If that ball's inside shoulder, he's going to have a chance to break it up. Even if he puts it out in front, Michael Davis with his length is going to have a chance to really disrupt Jahan Dotson on that catch. But because that ball was up and outside shoulder, which is where you have to put that football, it is the perfect spot. You could not have walked up and handed it to him any better. You could not have dropped it out of the sky any better where that ball was. And they talk about the red line, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with that red line. If you play football, you know exactly what the red line is, but it's this imaginary line. And in practice, a lot of times now you'll see teams actually draw a red line on the practice field. But, you know, they call it the red line because it's this imaginary line as a receiver that you are supposed to toe, that you're supposed to run to give your quarterback space to throw that football towards your outside shoulder. If you're outside of that red line, you're getting too close to the sideline and you're not giving your quarterback enough space to drop that thing over the outside shoulder away from that defender. If you're towing that red line, you're giving that quarterback plenty of space to throw that thing up and outside away from the defender. That's what Jahan did on that play beautifully. That ball was a thing of beauty, and it's something that gets you excited, right? That connection between those two, you're hoping. is one that blossoms and grows. And I think Jahan is going to have a really good season. I'm not going to go crazy and tell you he's going to have 1,000 yards like I did last year, because I thought, that the offense was really going to take off under Eric Bieniemy with Sam Howell, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not going to do that. This year, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to be less about predictions and, what projections, what this guy's going to do with that. I'm just going to kind of let it happen because I see what's going on in front of me. And I don't want to put expectations on anything. I just want to kind of let it happen organically. Somebody in the comment section of the last video we did yesterday, the live stream, said something really poignant that I thought was really apt. And that person said, what this new regime isn't doing, that the last regime constantly did, is they're not telling us that this group needs time, right? Like, this is a process. We need time. Like, they're trying to win. How effective they will be in year one remains to be seen. But when Rivera got here, he made it abundantly clear over and over and over and over and over and over and over again that this is a process. And in the military, it takes 3 to 4 years to change a culture, yada, yada, yada. He made it abundantly clear, hey, no expectations in year one. We're going to suck. And I need you to understand that we're supposed to suck so that when we do suck, you're not surprised. He set that tone in year one. Now, what ultimately happened was he got lucky that the rest of the division sucked, right? That Joe Judge was awful. Daniel Jones was awful and might have even been banged up, not sure, but he was awful. Dak Prescott got hurt, and the Eagles were about to make a coaching change, and Carson Wentz lost his shit. And so we were the beneficiaries of that, and we ended up winning the division at 7-9. But he told us over and over again, don't expect anything. We're supposed to be garbage, right? This group is having none of it. Dan Quinn said, I'm not putting any, expectations on anything. I'm not giving you any, predictions as to what we're just going to let it play out. Let's see what happens, right? Internally, they're probably saying, let's go out here and win some football games, right? But externally, that's what you do is hey, look, we don't know what's going to happen. Let's just roll the ball out and see what happens. And I love the fact that they're not kind of resting on the fact that this team has the highest turnover rate of any team in the NFL this year, that we are a relatively young team with veterans sprinkled amongst the group, and which is a good thing, right? It's not the blind leading the blind anymore. But at the same time, it is a young group that doesn't know how to win, that is lacking direction, that this group is hoping with the staff and now some of these veterans that they brought in will give them the direction that they need to start having success. But I like the fact that you're not pounding into your players' head or the fans that, hey, understand that we're rebuilding. That's why Dan Quinn won't even categorize it as rebuilding, right? They're recalibrating, right? Finding their north. He won't even call it rebuilding because they don't want to instill that in the brains and the minds of their players. Like, they don't want them to feed into the narrative of, hey, we're supposed to lose. We're supposed to be young and we're supposed to make mistakes because we're a young team and we're trying to figure out how to win. Don't nobody want to hear that shit, right? Let's just see what happens. That's kind of the approach I'm going to take this year. Past years, I got 12 wins. I got 11 wins. I'm expecting the offense to do the only expectation I'm putting on this team this year. This is the only expectation. And I've been consistent with this throughout. The only expectation that I'm going to put on this team this year is that the defense is going to be good. I expect the defense to be much better because it's going to be better coached. There are better players. And I think the utilization of these players, whether you think the defense is better this year than it was going into last year or not, remains to be seen. But the coaching staff is better. And I think the pieces for this particular staff and the scheme they want to run are better fits. And how they put these guys in places to succeed, I think, is also going to lead to more success defensively. I expect this defense to keep us in ball games, to give us a chance, to create some turnovers, to do some of the things that the defense, the last regime, did not do, right? Did not do. We were never a high turnover creating defense. Never. We would get off the field on third downs in certain years. We were never creating short fields based off of turnovers. We were never generating turnovers that took points off the scoreboard. If we gave up a 13-play drive, we were giving up points unless the team went for it on fourth down and we were able to get a stop. That was the only way we were going to create a turnover that took points off the scoreboard. This defense is going to get stops. They're going to create turnovers. They're going to be physical. They're going to fly to the football. They're going to be fast. They're going to be disruptive. I expect this defense to be good. How good? We'll see. I'm not putting top 10 or top 5 or none of that shit on the defense. I just knew we're going to be much improved, which is not saying much because we were one of the worst defenses in football last season. There's nowhere but up to go, right? But I expect us to make a monumental leap to somewhere, middle of the pack, somewhere in that neighborhood, I think we can get to that. That's a realistic goal. But at the end of the day, I just expect this defense to be good enough to keep us in ball games and give us a chance to compete. Other than that, I don't know what this offense is going to look like. I'm not putting any, offensive expectations on Jaden Daniels or statistically what I expect him to do. I'm not putting anything on Terry or Jahan or Brian Robinson, even though I do think Brian Robinson is going to have a pretty good year. I'm just going to let it happen, right? I'm just going to watch it, see what happens, kind of see how this thing unfolds, and just have fun with this. I'm having fun right now as a fan. Sort of like Jonathan Allen, how he's reinvigorated. It's fun for him to come to work now. He's enjoying himself. That's how I'm feeling as a fan right now. I'm enjoying this. I've enjoyed this offseason thoroughly. I've enjoyed this movement back to respectability, brick by brick, piece by piece. I've enjoyed the process of them building the front office, building a respectable coaching staff, building a roster that looks vastly different than the one we had the last 4 seasons. You could even go back to the Jay Gruden era and say the last 9 seasons. We haven't had a competent offensive roster, or a competent roster, I should say, probably since the Shanahans got here. When the Shanahans were able to get in here and bring in the guys that they brought in to help this team compete, right? And put us in a position where you felt really good. And you probably, and it was them laying the foundation, and then Jay Gruden coming in and us kind of getting lucky, falling into Deshaun Jackson because he was pissed off at the Eagles. He wanted back at them, so he signed with us, and kind of falling into some of those pieces that ended up fitting in. But they, the Shanahans were responsible for Jordan Reed. They were responsible for not Jamison Crowder. They were responsible for Pierre Garçon being here, right? They were responsible for most of the pieces that ultimately ended up being really good during that little run that we had. They were responsible for those guys being here for the most part. So Trent Williams, et cetera, et cetera. I'm looking forward to seeing what all of this looks like as we, kind of head towards the summer and training camp. These OTAs have me excited. Terry had a nice little catch. They showed us a clip of that as well. Marcus Mariota is currently with the first team, but understand that's why I said you don't want to get too carried away with, where guys are playing right now in OTAs. Because Marcus Mariota is running with the ones, as he should be, right? He should be running with the ones right now. As Jaden Daniels gets acclimated to what he's going to be asked to do, sort of kind of finds his footing in the NFL, gets more of an understanding of the playbook and all of that good stuff. And then once we get to camp and he's able to settle in, he's going to be the guy. He's starting week 1, barring any kind of unforeseen circumstances, he's starting week 1. That's to be expected, and we'll see where everybody else kind of fits in. But I'm excited, right? But that excitement leads me to the big topic for tonight. We've created this wonderful insulated bubble that we live in, right, as fans. And So often we get in our bubble, and because most people, not everybody is like-minded in the bubble, which is why I always encourage those of you who don't agree, don't be a part of the echo chamber. If you don't agree with something that's being said by me or others in the comment section, don't be afraid to go against the grain. Don't be afraid to voice your opinion. That's what this platform is all about. That's why I created this in the first place, was for fans to have a voice. And whether your voice aligns with mine or not, doesn't matter. Have a voice is what's important. And oftentimes, people come looking for cheerleaders. And when they don't get it, they get upset. Because that's why you come to a channel that is dedicated to your team, because you want to hear good things. And good things aren't always the reality of the situation. You should want to hear truth. Whether you agree with it or not, you should want to hear truth. You should want to hear opinions that at the very minimum, at least make you think. Even if you don't necessarily agree with it, you go, I never thought about it that way. Or I don't agree with that, but we'll see, right? That's an interesting take. I don't agree, but we'll see. Too often, especially this time of the year, and I'm as guilty as it gets, right? I'll put both hands up. You got me. I'm guilty. You got me. All right. Hands up. Of really building up optimism for the upcoming year. There's only been 1 year in the last probably 4 years, I'll say, of the Rivera era. There was only 1 year where I wasn't excited. I was just excited off of sheer adrenaline because we got rid of Bruce Allen in 2020. And I thought we were getting a coach that we didn't deserve in Ronald Rivera. Like, nobody was coming here to take this job. That was my mindset. We were such a broken organization. Nobody wanted to work for Snyder. How the hell we got Ron Rivera? I was shocked. He's well respected. We're not a respected organization. How did we get this guy? And Bruce Allen is gone. Wow. What a time to be alive. That was the mindset back in 2020. Less about, we're going to be good. We knew the roster stunk. It was just like, hey, this is as free as we think we're going to get. Because at that time, we didn't see Daniel Snyder being ousted as owner. So that was as free as we thought we were going to get, getting rid of Bruce Allen. That was as good as it was going to get. So you had to celebrate your victories when you could get them, because you weren't getting rid of the actual problem, right? We were treating the symptoms of Dan Snyder, which is the team president de facto GM position. But 2021 was the only year that I wasn't like super optimistic, didn't expect to win. I thought we were going to stink with Ryan Fitzpatrick at quarterback. 22, I thought we had a chance to do some big things with Carson Wentz. 23, you know how I felt about Sam Howell, and getting Eric Bieniemy really put me over the top. And I fell for it hook, line, and sinker, and I'm not ashamed of that. This year, I'm just going to kind of take a step back and let things happen. But it's that bubble, right? That bubble that we've created here and in other spaces like it, where you get excited and, you start out and that number's 5, and then somehow you talk yourself into 6, and then, the players show up, or you start hearing coaches talk and it gets to 7, and then you get to the draft and it's a really good draft, and then it's 8, and then they show up for, rookie minis, and then, vets show up and all of it feels good. And all of a sudden now it's 9. And by the time you get the schedule, shit's gotten to 10, 11, and you've talked yourself into 10, 11 victories. That's not me. I had the one night, and I told you, from here on out, I'm going to call it the schedule release purge. That's the one night of the year you get to talk absolutely reckless. And if you want to say, hey, we're going to the Super Bowl, that's the night you can do it. You get one night to talk reckless. When you first see the schedule and you say, hey, we can beat them, we can beat them, we can beat them, we should beat them. Hey, there's no tough games on this schedule. I'm not afraid of that team, that team, that team. You get to talk reckless for one night. Then you come back to your senses. I'm back where I belong. I'm 7 wins. That's where I've pretty much been this entire time. I'm not moving. I'm at 7 wins. Anything greater than 7, what a season. Anything less than it, a little disappointed. You hit 7, that's pretty much what I expected, right? We'll see what happens. I'm just going to allow the season to play out, and it is what it is, right? As long as we come away from this first season with Jaden Daniels looking like the guy, that's really all that truly matters, if you ask me. But I bring this conversation up because we exist in this bubble where we talk about us against the world. That's the kind of mentality that we have. Us against everybody else. You know, when I first came up with the concept for, this channel and, my Washington Redskins coverage when I first started back in 2012, somebody always, it's one of, I can't remember who it is exactly, but somebody always brings up I think it's John, Recon Redskins, right? Redskins Recon, I think is his name, or it used to be. But I think it's my guy, John. And he always brings up the old, it was the Redskins Warpath videos I used to do back in the day. They were crazy. They were wild. I would have on face paint, all kinds of crazy shit. And my intro for the Redskins report, I had this little, monologue speech that I would do over this like dramatic beat, as it's playing, and no one said it was going to be easy, but we all we need, we all we got, and that's all we need, or some shit like that. And that's kind of the mindset, like New Jack City, CMB, we all we got, right? Like that's kind of how we've fostered this kind of environment here where, hey, don't worry about what nobody else talking about, man. We about to win 10, 11 games this season. And you can feed into that if you're not careful, right? If you get enough of the pom-poms and cheerleading going on and not enough people giving you the reels, like you need people like Derek B constantly poking at the fact that this offensive line is not okay, right? I don't think it's as bad as he makes it out to be, but he's not wrong. This offensive line is not safe. They've got to prove to us that it's safe. And as I mentioned, you're not going to fix everything in year one. And that might be the thing that's not fixed in year one. And I'm okay with that. My thing is, if it's not fixed, which it's not going to be, if Andrew Wiley is starting at right tackle, then the offensive line is not fixed. No matter what you do at left tackle, if he's still at right tackle, then the offensive line is still broken by virtue of Andrew Wiley still remaining your starting right tackle. That said, I'm relying on the offense, the way that the play calls come in. Like one of the things that I used to always harp on with Scott Turner, specifically Eric Bieniemy. Eric Bieniemy was the worst, is that there was no structure. There was no setting up anything. He was just calling random plays on a sheet. Like you see Sean McVay, he's setting something up for the third quarter with what he's doing in the first quarter, right? Everything looks the same, jet sweeps, hard outside this way, just so he can get to a boot action back to his left in the third quarter because everything's been going hard to the left, and now he's booting back to the right. They fake the jet sweep. They run a sprint to the right, only to throw it back to the guy that ran the jet sweep so they could throw a screen to him and set it up. Like they've been setting that up all game long. They've been calling play calls to set that stuff up. They've been sucking you up, pause, all game long with the run just so they can get to that play action behind you in the second window. We never set anything up. Nothing. The play calls need to be sequenced in a way that it's setting things up, that is protecting your quarterback. If the offensive line isn't great, then Jaden Daniels' legs are that much more important because his legs are going to take pressure off of the offensive line. His ability to run the football, the threat of run. It's the same thing with Robert Griffin III. Our offensive line wasn't good in 2020 or 2012. But you know what took pressure off of, that offensive line? Tyler Columbus and guys that were starting at tackle and on the offensive line. You know what took pressure off of them? Robert's ability to run. The threat of him as a runner. Even if he wasn't going to run, the threat of him as a runner made that defensive end think for a second. It made him a half a step slower, right? That's all you need. We'll see, if they've done enough to make this a formidable offensive line or not. But you need guys like Derek B who are going against the grain, who don't want to subscribe to this narrative, this theory that, hey, we're fine. Don't worry about it. They drafted a kid, Brandon Coleman, in the 3rd round, and he's going to have a chance to start. We'll see what happens. But I bring all of this up because I normally this gets me worked up, right? This type of stuff gets me worked up. But not this year. I'm not going to allow it to get my blood boiling this year because I understand what the difference between the environment that we've cultivated and the national media. So understand that copious amounts of disrespect are going to be lobbied at us, right? They're going to be aimed squarely at our temple, right? Red dots are going to be right on our forehead with disrespect, just like it was last year and the year before that. And I was really adamant in each of the last 2 years that they got it wrong. We're going to show you, you're going to see. You don't know what you're talking about. And when we do show you that you're wrong, I'm going to make sure you know that you were wrong. I'm going to dig up one of those old tweets and I'm going to make sure 8 million people retweet this at you to the point where you're like, hey, I might have to block some of y'all. Like really rub it in somebody's face. That's the kind of energy I had the last couple of years. Not this year. But I want to start out with this. So this is from Pro Football Network. And I couldn't tell you Pro Football Network from Pro Football Focus from Pro Football Jackass. I couldn't tell you the difference between any of them because I don't really subscribe to any of this stuff. But as I always tell you, people bring stuff to my doorstep. And as they present it to me, I present it to you if it's pertinent, right? So, of course, somebody sent this to me a couple of days ago. And I said, well, damn. I'm looking at these win-loss predictions for the AFC here, right? And, nothing really jumps out at me that's like super flagrant until you get to 2 teams in particular. Now, I get it. Somebody's got to suck in the NFL. You don't know who those teams are going to be, but somebody's got to be trash. Like, if you're going to have 12 and 13 and 14 win teams, they got to feast off of somebody. Somebody's got to be ass in order for teams to win 12, 13, 14 games and have multiple 12, 13, 14 win teams in the league. Somebody's got to be ass. And they're bad teams every year. There's a certain level of bad, though, right? That it has to exist for you to be 2 and 15. Like that 3 and 14, 2 and 5, that's a different level of disrespect. I just need you to understand this. Think about it from this perspective. How bad were we last season? One of the worst Washington teams most of you have experienced in your life. If you've lived through 2019, it was right there. 2019, I think, was worse than this past year's team. Okay? Because at no point did 2019 have a shot. We started 0-5 or 6 that season before we got our first win. And if the Dolphins don't go for 2 and call the worst 2-point play in mankind, right, in NFL history, we probably lose that game too. Okay? We started out 2-0 last season in 2023. So it was a lot different, right? And we were competitive in a lot of those losses early in the season, both Eagles losses, the Seahawks loss, right? The Giants' first loss, highly competitive in those games. We just ended up on the wrong end of them. No such luck in 2019, okay? So for those of you who are having that recency bias, 2019 to me a lot worse than 2023. But they were both awful seasons, right? And I think we won 3 games in 19. We won 4 in 2023. Think about how bad those teams were. Okay. Think about how bad we were in 2019, how bad we were in 2023, and how many games we won. Now, think about how bad we were in those seasons, and then think about how bad you have to be even worse than that. That's what they're saying the Titans and the Broncos are going to be, essentially. That's rough, right? So I see 2-15 for the Titans. I'm like, what did Will Levis do to you? Now, I don't think the Titans are very good. I don't. And if Will Levis stinks, they could be 2-15. But they play in a pretty, I got to stop saying that this is a pretty bad division. The Texans have, asserted themselves as a team to be reckoned with in the AFC overall, in the entire conference. Jacksonville's like, hey, we're not going away. And Indy, we'll see what happens if Richardson's healthy this year. I got to stop calling this, one of the worst divisions in football. We'll see what it ultimately ends up being. But with that said, I gotta show you this stray that we caught. And this should have been foreshadowing for me, but I gotta show you this stray that we caught, right? So this is off the heels of this win-loss prediction, and this was their justification for the Titans being 2-15. Okay, let me read it to you. This prediction was made by Pro Football and NFL analyst Dakota Randall. Who the hell is Dakota Randall? I don't give a shit who Dakota Randall is. All right, Dakota Randall can kick rocks for all I care. This is Dakota Randall's explanation, rationalization for the Titans going 2-15. Where are the easy wins? The Titans probably would be favored only against the Commanders, Patriots, and maybe the Vikings. I mean, read that over again. This is a 2-win team. He's predicting them to be 2-15. Mind you, the Titans play us in Washington, not in Tennessee. Let me remind you again. The Titans are coming to Commanders Field when we meet them in week 13. They are coming to Commanders Field. We are not going to Nashville. They're coming to us. And this clown says, where are the easy wins? They're probably only going to be favored against the Commanders and the Patriots, maybe the Vikings. I get the Patriots. Everybody expects the Patriots to stink. And hell, clearly Randall doesn't, because he's got the Patriots at 9-8. They don't even, I guess because Jacoby Brissett may be starting. How are the Patriots 9-8? I don't know. Don't ask me. I don't know. I guess he thinks Aaron Rodgers is going to stink because they got the Jets at 9-8. I don't know. This is all crazy to me, right? Whatever. It goes on to write, the Titans probably are more of a 6 or 7 win team than they are a 2-win disaster, but things don't always go as planned, especially when you have questions at quarterback. That's fair, right? If a team is to bottom out, it's going to be a team with question marks at the quarterback position, which Will Levis is a question mark. He showed flashes last year, but you could easily throw him in the same category as a Sam Howell and say, hey, Sam showed flashes in that one start he had. Will had more starts than Sam, but not many. How many starts did Will Levis have last year? Maybe 4, maybe 5 max. And he showed flashes in some of those games. And he could be what Desmond Ridder was, an absolute train wreck. And the Titans bottom out. Sure. I mean, we just caught a stray here, though, right? That they'll be favored against us on the road. So that led me to this. Here are the NFC win-loss predictions. All right. So if you're not, don't readjust your screen. You're not seeing anything wrong here. We're the worst team in not only the conference, in the league. We're tied with the Tennessee Titans for the worst record in football. Now, again, I challenge you to just think back to 2019. I challenge you to think back to last season and how bad we were on both sides of the football. We were a train wreck. We knew that our coach was a dead man walking. They fired the defensive coordinator during the season. We knew that this thing was spiraling out of control and that wholesale changes were coming. That's the kind of environment that was fostered last year. We traded our two best defensive players during the course of the season because we already knew what the end game was. We knew what the end result of last season was going to be. You're telling me, you're going to look me in my eyes with a straight face. Don't smile at me, okay? Because I'm not laughing right now. This shit is not a laughing matter. You're going to look me in my eyes. Look, you can tell me that we're a 5 or a 6 win team. I'm not gonna challenge you on that. Okay, we'll see. 2 wins though? Worst team in football? 2-15? Do you know how bad you have to be to win 2 games in an NFL season? Do you understand? If Marcus Mariota starts all 17 games, we're not going 2-15. If Sam Hartman starts all 17 games, we're not going 2-15. Do you understand what I'm saying to you right now? We're starting a former Heisman Trophy winning quarterback with a roster that is not terrible. It's not a great roster, but it's far from the worst in football. 2 wins? That's the best you could come up with. Even Adam Rank gives us 3 wins. This clown gave us 2. The Panthers are going to be better than us. I guess one of the 3 Panthers wins came against us, I guess. Right? Keep in mind, we're 2-15. And we play the Panthers. We play the Bears. He's got the Bears at 7-10. We play the Panthers. We play the Bears. We play the 2-win Titans. Maybe one of their 2 wins came against us, right? We play the Giants twice. We play the Buccaneers. Don't know how good they're going to be. We'll find out. We play the Cardinals. We're going to win 2 games? I only bring this up, not for, for us to go crazy and, nuts. Even though I sort of just kind of went a little crazy, but not really. I'm just shocked at the disrespect. I know disrespect is coming. And I only bring this up tonight to warn you because we're in our little bubble. And you know how many times I've seen over the last, 3 or 4 days with all the moves Washington has made. They made a bunch of moves on Monday, changing around the front office and the scouting department. And we were, lauding and praising them. And then, we saw more things from, OTAs yesterday and we were all excited. And you know how many times I saw in the comment section, hey, this is a 10-11 win team. I'm watching, Dan Quinn's presser. And as I'm watching the presser, I always like to watch the live comments on the side to see what people are saying. And I'm watching Bobby Wagner and I'm watching, this player and that player. And I'm watching Jonathan Allen. And you know how many times I've seen, hey, we're going to shock the NFL this year. We're going to win 9. We're going to win 10. We're going to win 11. We're going to win 12 games this year. Because we're in that little bubble that I'm talking about. Well, predictions like this are going to burst that bubble. And I just want you to be prepared. There's more of this coming. Now, this is a bit extreme. And I don't think you're going to see this too many more times. 2-15 is ridiculous. Okay? Utterly ridiculous. Because, again, it's very easy for me to get to 2 wins in an NFL season. When in 2019, I knew we were going to be bad. And I said, if we go 2 and I think it was only 16 games back then. If we go 2-14, I could have seen it in 2019. We went into the season knowing Jay Gruden was going to be fired after the first 5 weeks. We said that before the season started. Where's the win? Like, he needed a win, and he came out guns a-blazing week 1 against Philadelphia, and Case Keenum let him down. And after that, you already knew what it was going to be. It was the Patriots. It was I think the Giants were on the schedule. You know, all of these really good teams that we knew we had no shot at beating. None. And it happened exactly the way that we thought it was going to happen. 0-5, fired. That season was a disaster before it started. This season looks nothing like that season. So I just want you to know that nationally, this is still how we're viewed. You're gonna get the perspective here and there from the analysts, the former player that says, hey, watch out for the Commanders. Somebody is trying to make a bold statement. The only guy that I've seen consistently saying that, hey, look out for Washington, they could be this year's Houston Texans, is Bucky Brooks. Only guy consistently saying that. He was saying that pre-draft. He said if they get Jaden Daniels, and I expect them to draft him with the second pick in the draft, because he felt like Jaden Daniels was the best quarterback in the draft. That included Caleb Williams. He said if they get Jaden Daniels, I think this team with the roster that they've built and the things that they're doing, I think this team can compete. And I wouldn't be shocked if they, won 9, 10, 11 games. He's been consistently saying that. Look out for the Commanders. Everybody else, look out. You don't know what you're going to get. And this is a prime example of that. 2 wins, though, is utterly ridiculous. It is absolutely craziness. So all I'm telling you is don't be surprised if you see more of this. Not necessarily 2, but Washington's 4-13. Washington's 5-12. And you don't see many more wins than that. Like, that's the national perspective. That's who we're viewed as right now. Understand that. I just want you to know, because when you're in this bubble and a lot of people are like-minded, you start telling yourself, oh, we're going to win 8, 9, 10 games easy. Well, just understand that's not the national perspective. National perspective is, hey, you play in a tough division. You're not even close to Dallas or Philadelphia. You can't beat the Giants. You stink. You got a rookie quarterback. Your offensive line is trash. You got a long way to go. You're going to be awful this year. That's the national narrative. Just know that. So I wanted to bring that to your doorstep, lay it at your feet. You do with it whatever you like. But just understand that in our bubble, we're insulated. We're protected. We talk about a lot of the good stuff that's happening because there is a lot of good things happening. And I tell you this all the time. And I'm going to continue to tell you this because I believe this with every fiber of my being. It feels different because it is different. But the national media isn't going to see it like that until we start winning games. They don't care about the perception of the change that's taking place here. Only the people that are that focus in on those things are going to tell you, hey, look at what Washington is building. It may not translate into, a ton of wins. I told y'all when this first, let me get this garbage off the screen now. Let me get this trash out of my face. I've been telling y'all that everything that I expected to transpire here was going to be a lot like San Francisco 49ers circa 2017. Did I not tell you that? Everything that we've done has mirrored San Francisco 49ers circa 2017. Has it not? I literally went through the free agents that they signed, their draft picks, all of that stuff. I talked about Adam Peters' role in how things were done. And they've essentially done all of those things here in Washington. You go to 2017, the first hire was Kyle Shanahan, and he was kind of put in control in this coach-centric approach. Excuse me. But he did hire John Lynch, and Lynch immediately went out and sought after Adam Peters. A little bit different here that the GM was hired first, but the relationship remains the same between GM and head coach, right? Just a little bit different. The head coach was at the top of the hierarchy, if you will, but it's the same approach, right? Basically, the GM and the coach are married. They're tied at the hip. So, Lynch and Shanahan have this, remarkable relationship, and a lot of their decisions are jointly based, and they do a really good job of sounding off of each other, figuring out what, Kyle needs, and then figuring out how we can make it happen. They do a lot of those things. He went and got Adam Peters. That was essential to their success. Having that assistant GM, that guy that is a master scout, that can be another set of eyes, can be another ear, can also have a strong voice that's going to help them shape and mold their roster, turn this thing around. They had the second pick in the draft. What happens here? Peters comes in, hires Dan Quinn. They've got that relationship, right? You then go out and you hire Lance Newmark. That's the new Adam Peters. In 2017, it was Adam Peters. Now it's Lance Newmark as the assistant GM, right? That comes in here and helps you. A master scout, right? Guy with an eye for talent. Now, how we're going to build this culture. Remember, Lance Newmark is coming from Detroit, where they're building a bully over there. They're building culture. They turned it around and they built a strong foundation and culture. He was a part of that. Adam Peters in 2017 was coming from, Denver, and had been in New England, places where they had won Super Bowls and built a strong culture and a foundation, and he knew what it looked like, right? They had the number 2 pick in 2017. We had the number 2 pick here, right? They turned that roster over. They brought in a bunch of guys. I told you there were a bunch of 1- and 2-year deals. What did we do? Same thing, right? It all looks the same. Turn that roster over, turn the coaching staff over, turn the front office over, et cetera, et cetera. It all looks the same. It all mirrors. It all matches. And also, in that first year, the 49ers were awful. They were god-awful. Think they were a 3-win team. They might have been a 2-win team. They might have gone 2-14 in Kyle's first year. If not 2-14, something like 3-13. They were awful. There's a big difference, though. They didn't have a quarterback. He tried to trade for Kirk Cousins, and we were too dumb enough to trade him Kirk Cousins. He wanted to give us a first-round pick. He wanted to give us the number 2 overall pick, and we didn't want it because we wanted to spite Kyle, because Dan and Bruce were so spiteful. Instead of being insightful, they were spiteful, and it bit them in the ass. So the 49ers had no quarterback, so they suffered. Well, we got Jaden Daniels. We don't know how good he's going to be. He could be terrible this year. And even if he struggles, you're still not a 2-win team. And I already said this. Off the strength of your defense, you're going to win some ball games, or you're going to be in some ball games. But a lot of it looks the same. That's why I'm so optimistic, because they've done it the right way. I can tell you this. I can't tell you from being a fan of a team putting it together. I can tell you what it looks like from the outside looking in, what doing it the right way looks like. I can't tell you what it looks like from up close, right? I can tell you what dysfunction and trying to take shortcuts and trying to buck the system and trying to build it without taking the proper steps and precautions necessary looks like. Because I've watched that be done over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. So I know what that looks like. That ain't what this is. So whether it ends up being a 5 or a 6, 7-win season, whatever the case may be, I don't expect, unlike some of you who are super optimistic, and I hope you prove to be right and I prove to be wrong. I want to be wrong here. I want this to be a 9-10 win season. God forbid we win 11 games. I will be insufferable. In year 1 of this group, 11 wins. We haven't won 11 games or more since 1991. I will be insufferable if we do something like that in year 1. I don't anticipate that happening. I will be so happy if we just come out of this first year and I say, hey, we got ourselves a guy at quarterback. that you're going to have to deal with. Unlike Robert Griffin III in 2012, who ended that season injured and we didn't know what the future was going to look like. If we come out of this first campaign and Jaden Daniels is upright and he's playing good football, and we say, we just throw out some random numbers. He ends up with 19 touchdown passes, 6 interceptions, throws for 2,978 yards, and has a 64% completion percentage, and plays really like if that's his rookie season, I'm gonna be ecstatic. No, the yards aren't necessarily there yet, but he kept the turnovers low. He protected the football. Clearly, he's gonna add some touchdown runs there. If he threw for 19 touchdowns, you could probably pencil him in for 25 or north of 25 touchdowns total accounted for in the season, because he's going to run for at least 5 or 6 by himself, right? So if you're telling me that's what his rookie season looked like, keep in mind, Robert Griffin III's 2012 rookie season was 20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 3,200 yards passing. It's not like he put up these ridiculous, gaudy numbers like C.J. Stroud did last year, right? C.J. Stroud threw for over 4,000 yards. We figured that out last show. Threw for over 4,000 yards in his rookie season. He had 23 touchdown passes. You're not going to, generally speaking, rookies don't throw for a bunch of touchdown passes. Generally speaking, that is. So if he throws for 19, only throws, 6 interceptions, keeps the turnovers low, uses his legs. Remember, Robert had 900 yards rushing in his rookie season, I believe. I believe it was 900. It was either 800 or 900, somewhere in that neighborhood. It was 7 to 9, somewhere in that neighborhood, rushing in his rookie season. I don't anticipate Jaden Daniels having that many yards rushing in his rookie season. I don't. But I do expect his legs to be a part of the equation. We'll see what happens. But I said all of that to say this. Understand that it isn't, in fact, a process, and they're going about it the right way. And whatever it yields us from a win-loss perspective, take it in stride. But just know that we're far from a finished product. We're just getting started, which is why, when people complain about the offensive line, I don't really my brain doesn't compute with that, because in my mind, I already warned anybody that was listening that you're not going to fix everything in year one. The key was to get as many talented football players as one could. If you wanted to reach for an offensive lineman, then you might as well bring back Ronald Rivera and company and make them the general manager, head coach, et cetera, et cetera. If you wanted to fix the offensive line that bad at the expense of the rest of the roster, and still you're probably going to come away with marginal players at best in doing so, passing up high-level talent to, quote-unquote, fix the offensive line, then you need to go back to rooting for the team the way that it was. That's what you want. You want us to be incompetent. You want us to be an inefficient team. You want us to be marginal at best. You're looking for us to be a 7-win team consistently, because the good teams, they don't draft for need specifically. They draft, especially for where we are, you draft the best player available. Draft the best player available. And just know that if they get to camp and it's not satisfactory on the offensive line, they'll do something. David Bakhtiari was medically cleared the other day. He should be okay. I wouldn't go after him. I've seen a lot of fans saying, hey, we need to go after him ASAP. Yeah, the guy's barely played the last 3 years. There's a reason why he's available. He probably should just retire, to be honest with you. Don't know how much he's got left, but there'll be other options available. Here's the thing. The other options that I'm referring to, How much better are they than the options that are already on the roster that already exist here? How much better is a guy who hasn't been in camp with us all year, who didn't do a single OTA with us or a mini camp with us? How much better is he going to come in and be a week or two before the season when those cuts happen? If a guy's on the street right now as an offensive tackle, don't you think he's there for a reason? You think you're going to find something worth having this time of the year? Let me know. The only way you find something remotely worth having is those post-June 1 cuts. And generally, teams now designate guys with post-June 1 cut designations, and they just cut them. They don't wait. You don't have to wait anymore. The 49ers cut Eric Armstead with a post-June 1 cut designation. He's already on the Jets right now. Like, you don't have to wait to do that. It's done. So I don't know how many, I don't really know what you guys are looking for exactly. The bottom line is they went out and they got the best players that they could possibly get in the draft with what they scouted and what they felt like was going to help this team. They did the same thing in free agency. They went out and they did a good job of just supplementing this roster, getting in as many bodies as they can to come in here and set the culture, but also be productive at the same time. Give us a chance to compete. They're not looking to come in here and just change the culture. They're trying to win football games. That's evident by the moves that have been made. Not just free agency, but the draft, the coaching staff. They're trying to win. Even the words that they use, even the language that they speak suggests that, hey, we're not out here just trying to change the culture as Ronald Rivera used to tell us when he first got here. They're trying to win football games. And you know what changes the culture more than anything else? You guessed it. Winning football games. You win enough football games, guess what? The culture will change. Losing breeds losing. Winning breeds winning. It's a simple formula. It's a simple equation. It's timeless. It doesn't change. You win. The morale is up. You gain confidence. Winning begets winning. I always talk about this vicious, flavor delicious cycle that you want to repeat as a team. And it doesn't matter what the sport is. You want to repeat this cycle. It's vicious, flavor delicious. Finger licking good. You win, you build confidence. That confidence turns into more wins, and you just repeat the cycle, right? Because I'm looking at, just to throw this out, this different sport. I'm looking at the Philadelphia Phillies, and I'm talking to my buddy, right? Somebody asked me about this earlier in the year when the Phillies were just starting to get hot. Are you worried about the Phillies? I said, damn right I'm worried about the Phillies. We don't have pitching as a Braves fan. We don't have a ton of pitching. We lost our best pitcher for the season. That was already an issue going into the season. And this Phillies team has owned us in the playoffs. And he said, but they're not playing nobody, though. They winning a bunch of – I said, I don't give a shit. You know what's happening now? Is they're starting to build a belief that it doesn't matter. 9th inning, 8th inning, 1st inning, 3rd inning. We supposed to win. We down 2 in the 9th. We supposed to win. You know why? Because they're stacking up these wins. You know what winning breeds? Confidence. You know what confidence breeds? More winning. Because when you gain that confidence, you expect to win. No matter what the circumstance, no matter what the situation is, no matter who the opponent is, I expect to win. That's what confidence does. Confidence breeds winning. Winning breeds confidence, and you just rinse and repeat. You want to change this? You want to change the culture? Win. That's why you haven't heard them say, hey, we're here to change the culture. And, no, they talking about setting the tone. We're not rebuilding here. You know why you don't use the phrase rebuilding? We know what's going on here. We know what the hell's happening. But it's smart on their part because psychologically, you don't want your players to hear you say, we're rebuilding. That's a scary word for a player, especially a veteran like a Jonathan Allen, who's been a part of about 3 or 4 different rebuilds in his NFL career here in Washington. That's a scary word. So when I sit down and I talk, and I'm pretty sure when they had that conversation with Jonathan Allen this offseason, the first thing he wanted to know is this a rebuild? And they told him, nah, that's not what we're here to do. We're not rebuilding nothing. We coming in here, we trying to win. We recalibrate. We're not rebuilding nothing. We'll see. We'll see what ultimately takes place. I just like the trajectory right now. I like the direction that we're heading in. Everything that we've done to this point feels like the right step. Everything we've done to this point feels like the right step. The only thing, and I've said this already, the only thing that seems that the slightest bit sketchy is O-line Bobby Johnson. And we'll see. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe I'm incorrect in doing that, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. See what he can do. I'm hoping third time's the charm. That's my optimism shining through. I hope third time's the charm for him. But anyway, I digress. I'm excited. Needless to say, I'm excited about what is in store. And you know what? I can't remember being this excited for a season. And we haven't even gotten to the preseason. I think this would be the most amped I'll be for a preseason since 2012. I remember, I can't speak to this for any of you. I very vividly remember that first preseason game with Robert Griffin III. Do you guys remember that game? Do you remember who we played? Because I do. It was the Buffalo Bills. And Griffin took us right down the field on this picturesque, like 9-play drive, bing, bang, boom, touchdown, and came out of the game. And I said, oh, shit. It was everything that I was expecting. I was hoping it could be. I didn't expect it. It was everything I was hoping it would be. And that was a precursor to what would happen in week 1 on the road against the Saints when we went and put up 40 points and beat them 40-32. And that was a good Saints team with Drew Brees, prime Drew Brees at that still. Okay. They had just won the Super Bowl maybe 2 years prior, a year prior or so, whatever it was. It wasn't the year prior. It was probably like 2 years prior to that. But, that was still really good Drew Brees in New Orleans. So you didn't go into the Superdome and win football games against that group with Sean Payton. Was that Bounty Gate year? It might have been Bounty Gate year. I don't know if that was Bounty Gate year or not. Whatever the case may be, we went in there and we won. And I was so damn proud of them. I was so excited, so amped. The anticipation for that preseason was ridiculous. Preseason is a different animal now. The lack of respect shown towards preseason, I probably need to temper my expectations because we still don't know what this group is going to do with preseason, right? Like these joint practices scare me because when you get joint practices with teams, it allows you to disregard the game itself, right? Keep in mind where Dan Quinn came from. You're a product of your environment. You learn from people that are around you. You take bits and pieces from those that you encounter and you add them to your repertoire. He came from Dallas. They didn't give a shit about the preseason at all. You'd be hard-pressed to find any Dak Prescott action in the preseason because they did a lot of joint practices. And, I was one of those that rooted against teams who didn't utilize the preseason. I wanted that to be a thing, right? Like we could point to and say, hey, the teams who did not play their starters or didn't at least play them in a game in the preseason, this is what the numbers suggest. These teams start slow. Then Dallas went out and put up 40 on the Giants, and who gives a shit about preseason, right? Preseason, smeesh season. Put up 40 on those boys. Beat the brakes off of them. So Dan Quinn might come here and adopt a lot of those principles that he may have gotten from Dallas and Mike McCarthy. And he may not put as much stock. It's easier to do that when you got a veteran quarterback like a Dak Prescott, like a Russell Wilson, like a Matthew Stafford. These are the teams that don't utilize the preseason at all because they got veteran quarterback. When you got a young quarterback, I would think the preseason would be of much value to you to see that guy, to get him reps, to get him acclimated in the NFL environment, real games, right? Yeah, these ones don't count, but you're playing against NFL caliber talent. Officials, the clock is there, there's actual score being kept. You get to see the real speed of the game. It's on par with the SEC, but it's greater than that. It's up another notch. You get to experience that. I would like to think that he's going to take advantage of these preseason games for Jaden Daniels, but you just don't know. You just don't know. Anyway, I digress. 2-15. That shit is just like, wow. The level of disrespect that it took for somebody to put us at 2-15 is like, what do you have an axe to grind against us? That felt like some Mike Florio level hate, right? Understand that there may be more of that in store though. So just understand what the national narrative is. And in order to combat that, you got to win football games. I hate that even exists, that people think that we're even capable of a 2-15 season. That to me is the worst part of that, is that you think it's okay to make us 2-15. Anyway, I digress. Let's get to the comment section, see what you guys got to say. Duncan Wright, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy Duncan writes, hey, meh, how about you play some music? That's a different channel, bro. That's a different channel. But I do have a video lined up for you tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. Mabo Huncho 6, stand up. You are the newest member of the MOBB mob. Y'all know what to do. Show Mabo Huncho some love. Looking forward to chopping it up with you in the future. Perfect name for the perfect group. You'll fit in like hand in glove. Welcome to the squad. Mabo Huncho. Greatly appreciate you. John Perez, my guy JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy JP writes, Lou, good to see you as always. Likewise. Good to hear from you. I'm going to be honest. Excuse me. If Jamon Davis doesn't have a good start to 2024, there's no way he's safe come deadline day. But you're assuming that somebody would want Jamon Davis. If he's not playing well here, why would someone want to trade for him when he'll be a free agent after the season? They've already declined his fifth-year option, so he's going to be a free agent next year. Why would somebody trade for him? You trade for players at the trade deadline that have established themselves as damn good football players that you want to add to your team, not allow that player to hit free agency. And if first of all, you trade for guys at the deadline normally that have at least an additional year left on their contract. Nobody wants a 2-month rental. You only trade for 2-month rentals if that guy is such a high impact player and you're in a position to win a championship that you'll take the risk that is involved in a 2-month rental, i.e. the 49ers trading for Chase Young, right? They traded for Chase Young because if he played well, we got a chance to re-sign this guy. If he doesn't play well, we let him walk, but we're trying to win a Super Bowl and we think he can help us. So we're willing to take on a 2-month rental and give up a 3rd-round pick essentially for it. In the case of Montez Sweat, the Bears said, we're getting a guy that we see as a long-term piece and fit here in what we're trying to do. And if you're going to trade him to us for a second-round pick, we're going to go ahead and not only trade for him, he went there, proved that he was what they thought he was. They signed him to a long-term deal, and look how cheap of a deal that looks like now, right? They got ahead of the curve by doing that, right? Those are the two scenarios, essentially. You're either trading for a guy that you think is a long-term fit for your team moving forward, or you're trading for a guy that you think can help you right now try and chase the chip. Jamon Davis is neither. And if the scenario you played out ends up happening where he isn't playing well, who's trading for Jamon Davis? I'm not even giving you a 7th-round pick for a guy that's been a average at best player in the league throughout his first 4 seasons and is going to be a free agent at the end of the year. He's not going anywhere. He'll be playing this entire season in a Commander's uniform. And then he'll be playing his football elsewhere next year. More likely than that. R-Nice 2020. Stand up. You are now the newest member of the MOBB. R-Nice 2020. Y'all know what to do. Show R-Nice some love. Welcome R-Nice with open arms. Looking forward to chopping it up with you. Welcome to the squad. R-Nice 2020. Jern, been a member for 26 months. Salute to you. Really appreciate you. Duncan Wright, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, I heard 55,000 Indians petitioned to change the name back to Redskins. If this is true, you guys need to change the name back. It could be 55 million. I don't see them changing the name back. Look, at the end of the day, here's the skinny of the situation. When everything was happening and we were in COVID and all of the things that were taking place from a protest standpoint were taking place, you could see the tea leaves kind of lining up. And we got swept up in that, unfortunately. It had been something that had been brewing for a long time. And this is why I said it's dangerous to be on, one side of the political fence or the other, like all the way extreme, right? There should be balance. You should be in the middle, right? But unfortunately, a lot of times in politics, there is no middle grounds. You're either with us or you're against us. That's how you're viewed. And unfortunately, once everything started happening and all this change started to take place and people were all of a sudden woke, this name can't stay, right? You can't be the Redskins anymore. And once the sponsors started to threaten, change had to be made. You can't function as an NFL organization without sponsors. So once everybody threatened to pull out, he didn't have a choice. Some say, well, he did have a choice. It's his team. He can do what he wants to do. Yeah, but nobody's trying to come out of pocket for anything. And if you don't have sponsorships, then you got to come out of your pocket for stuff. Once you change the name, you can't go back. By changing the name, you admit that it was wrong for the organization to be the Redskins. That's what you're admitting, whether right or wrong. So there's no going back. The biggest mistake they made was the imagery portion, right? Okay, you change the name. You don't want the logo to be the strong Indian face with the feathers. You didn't have to go that far away from our identity, right? That's where I think they messed up. I think a lot of people would have been able to stomach a lot of the changes, which is why a lot of people, while they didn't love Washington football team, were okay with one. They knew that it was just a means to an end, right? They knew that change was coming, and this was just a placeholder. But we still kept the same look, so people were okay with that. You know, we still had our identity. We still looked the way that we've looked for over 80 years. Just without, you know, but the logos have changed over the years from, you know, just the spear to the R to then the, you know, the chief Indian face. But it sucks that, you know, we've arrived at the point that we've arrived at. But it doesn't matter how many petitions are signed and, you know, how many senators try to stand up. And, you know, that grandstanding shit, you know, trying to make a point on the House floor and all that shit is trash. Because that was more about him than it was about us. You know, he wanted to be the one to try to say, hey, I'm taking a stand. Get out of here. Miss me with that bullshit. Like, he probably not even a fan of this team. He's just trying to make a political stance. And we just happen to be at the heart of it. Get out of here with that. At the end of the day, like, I don't get too involved in all of that stuff because I already know what the end result is. We're never going to be the Redskins again. And the likelihood is we're never going back to the imagery that most of us would like them to. So why worry yourself and continue to argue for something that just isn't going to happen, right? So that's how I view that. We'll see what happens, though. Yo, Pop, stand up. You are the newest member of the MOBB. Y'all know what to do. Show Yo Pop some love. Welcome him with open arms. Show him what it's like to be a member of the MOBB. Yo Pop, welcome to the squad. Glad to have you on board. Duncan Wright, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Duncan writes, I kind of told you guys, I'm assuming that you're talking about the 2 wins. Get out of here, man. That's trash. If that's what you're talking about, you can kick rocks too, Duncan, because we ain't winning no damn 2 games. You know that too. We should have beat y'all twice last year, not once, twice last year. CK Bor. CK Bor. Stand up. You are now the newest member of the MOBB. CK Bor. Come on in. Mob, y'all know what to do. CK Bor. Welcome to the squad. Glad to have you. Welcome aboard. Look forward to chopping it up with you. And you picked the perfect time to come on board. Plenty of space. And I think where we're heading, it's about to be one hell of a ride. And I want you to be a part of it. Mabo Honcho 6. Once again, thank you for becoming a member of the MOBB. Really appreciate you. Let's read your comment. Thank you for doubling up. Mabo Honcho 6, who writes, who do you think the 2 wins are, Lou? That is a tremendous question, because I gave you, so we caught a stray with the Titans, right? That they'll be favored over. The Titans had 2 wins. The Panthers had 3 wins. Well, shit, if they had 2, the Titans had 2 and the Panthers had 3, and we had 2, who the hell could the 2 wins be against? Your guess is as good as mine, because clearly the Panthers had to beat somebody. The Titans had to beat somebody. We had to beat somebody. If we all play each other and you got 3 wins, I got 2, and the Titans got 2, I don't know, man. I mean, Dallas had 13. The Eagles, I think, had 12 or 11. The Giants had 6. Maybe one of them came against the Giants, I guess. Clearly, we got swept by the Cowboys and the Eagles. Arizona, maybe? I don't even know where those 2 wins, because clearly, if Carolina's a 3-win team and Tennessee's a 2-win team, they don't have many wins on their schedule, so they had to beat somebody, right? Jesus. 2 wins? I'd love to know who the 2 wins were. I'd love to know. Meest, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Meest writes, GM Louie T picking up the Green Bay left tackle. You tell about David Bakhtiari. No, I wouldn't personally pick him up, because you might get four games out of David Bakhtiari. I mean, to me, at this point of his career, I mean, let me see. Maybe I'm tripping. Let me check and see what's the most games he's played in a season over the last 5 years, because he's been banged up. It feels like he's been banged up for the last 5-6 years, it feels like. And that's real talk. So let's see. I could be tripping. All right. So he played in 1 game last year. He played in 11 games in 2022. He played in 1 game in 2021. And he played in 12. So that's the last 4 years. 12 in 2020. 1 in 2021. 11 in 2022. 1 in 2023. So if you go off of the pattern, he's due for an 11, but that number has been dwindling every time. So it was 12, 1, 11, 1. So he might give you 10 starts this year. He might give you 10. If that's the case, then yeah, I would sign up for David Bakhtiari if you can get 10 starts out of him. But you that's wishful thinking. The man started 1 game last year. His body is failing him. In 2 out of the last 3 years, he's had 1 start each of 2 out of the last 3 years. 1 start. So clearly his body's failing him. Has DJ Humphrey signed with anybody? I know he's coming off of an injury. No, he's still a free agent. When did he tear his ACL is the question. When did he injure himself? He's injured himself in the second to last game of the season. So that's why he's still out. Somebody's going to sign him eventually. Because if he injured himself in the second to last game, I believe the NFL season extended into January. The regular season extended into January. How deep into January is the question. Let's just say his surgery wasn't performed until January. Okay. Let's just say the beginning of January, he had surgery. It's usually a 6 to 8 month recovery time frame for an ACL. He's almost 30. So you'd think it'd take a little bit longer, him getting up there in age a bit. That put him somewhere in that July, August range of him being ready to go out and have football activities. So I think he'd probably get a call from a team sometime in the summer when camp gets underway. Maybe we're that team, you know. Obviously, he's got experience with Cliff Kingsbury, and Cliff Kingsbury has experience with him. And if Cliff thinks he's a good player, then he might end up here. If Cliff has good things to say about DJ Humphries, he'll end up here potentially. If he doesn't, then he won't. So we'll see. But I wouldn't go after David Bakhtiari in particular. Duncan Wright, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Duncan writes, I keep telling you guys the past 2 years, you guys stink. because your lines stink. By the way, it's our 2 years together. Salute, my main man. More fun ahead and drink. I appreciate you, man, as always. And I just appreciate that you're coherent tonight, that your comments make sense. You probably have to work tonight. There's no way you're sitting at home and these messages make this much sense. So shout out to you. And if you've had a drink or two and you're still typing with sense, blessings on top of blessings for that. So we'll see. Hey, you better enjoy being, one of the better teams in the division while you still can, Duncan, because, hey, we coming. We coming. I'll make that abundantly clear. We coming. We on the rise. Christopher McLaughlin. If Jaden Daniels is who we think he could be, watch out. I'll say that much. Christopher McLaughlin. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Chris, writes, hey, Lou. What's up, Chris? Hope all is well with you and the family. Likewise, as always. 2 questions. How do you expect opposing defenses to attack Daniels and Kingsbury's offense and why? Excuse me. 2, what are reasonable expectations for DNs this season? Fowler Jr., Armstrong, and Farrell. So, what's going to be interesting is I don't think that teams are going to attack us early on. I think they're going to kind of be in a reactionary type of position because you don't know what to expect. I think most teams will probably go into the season looking at Cliff Kingsbury's offense from Arizona, obviously, but maybe even rookie season, Cliff Kingsbury, 2019 with Kyler Murray, because that's going to be more of what they think they're going to get with a rookie quarterback and some of the things you can implement with a young quarterback. So I think that's how they're going to try to defend Washington early on. And then obviously as you get into the season and there's more tape and now you got some things that you can start to kind of hang your hat on if you're a team scouting Washington. Okay, this is what they like to do in these situations. This is what they like to do on third downs. This is what they like to do when they get to second and mediums. Then you can start to put together a game plan. But I think early on, teams are going to be reacting to what it is that we're doing. We're going to be able to dictate tempo, and we're going to be able to dictate what it is we want to do. The question is, are we going to be able to continue to evolve and not stay stagnant? The things that you get away with in the first 4 to 5 weeks of the season may not be the same things you may be able to successfully execute in weeks 9 and 10 as the adjustments have been made. Can we continue to build upon the things that we do early in the season, which will then allow us to be more effective as teams you want to put teams at a disadvantage by having them constantly trying to play catch up. You never want defenses to be a step ahead of you. You always want them to be one step behind, right? I think we're going to go into the season offensively a step ahead of opposing defenses because, one, you're getting an offensive coordinator who wasn't in the NFL last year. And the last time you saw him, he was with a different team. And the quarterback might be a little similar, but the quarterback is also a little bit different. The weapons are different, and everything around him is different. So they've been telling us that it's going to look different. I expect it to look different. And so you don't know what to expect there. You don't know what to expect from Jaden Daniels. You don't know what to expect from this offense as a whole. So by virtue of that, I think teams will be a step behind us. We can then dictate to them what it is we want to do. And then as they look to make the adjustment, we've got to be one step ahead so that we stay ahead of the competition. If we ever allow them to catch up or pass us defensively, that's when you'll start to see teams finding weaknesses in what Jaden Daniels does or doesn't do well and trying to exploit that. So I think what you're going to see eventually from teams is I can tell you this right out of the gate, they're going to try to keep him in the pocket. They're going to try to keep him in the pocket. They don't want to let him run. But in doing that, you're not as aggressive as, a team that rushes the quarterback. Like you see that with Lamar Jackson a lot of times. Teams aren't trying to sack him necessarily, like how they would try to sack Patrick Mahomes or, a Derek Carr or somebody that you expect to kind of stay in the pocket, even though Mahomes is a guy that can get out of the pocket. you're not as worried about Mahomes from a standpoint of, hey, can I get to the quarterback? You're trying to get Mahomes. And if he escapes, he escapes. Lamar Jackson is a different animal because you like, bro, I can't even rush up the field because if I open up this C gap, he might take off. You know, I got to retrace my steps. If I do rush up the field, I got to then stop and come back up the field and close that gap that I created. I got to keep him in this cup. So you can't even rush as aggressively as you want to. I think you're going to see a lot of that. I do think you're going to see teams doing that very early on, trying to make him a pocket passer. And if he can prove to them that he can do that, then they may get a little bit more aggressive, and that's when you might see him take off. But, you know, we'll see. As far as reasonable expectations for the defensive end, you know, that's a great question because I struggle with our defensive ends. If you ask me right now, what's the weakest position on defense? I know a lot of people will point to the secondary. I think they're going to get fine coaching back there. And I think there are enough pieces in that secondary between Sain Rastil and Michael Davis, who they brought in, and Emmanuel Forbes, and even Juice to a lesser degree. I think there's enough stuff at corner, and I think there's even more stuff at safety. They got a ton to work with at the safety position. I think we're going to be fine on the back end. When I say fine, I mean they're not going to be the sieve that they were last year, you know, the walking big play that they were a season ago. I worry about getting pressure on the quarterback still consistently. I think they're going to have to dial up blitzes. That's going to be the way that we get to the quarter. I can't see a consistent four-man rush getting to the quarterback unless they somehow unlock Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen. But I still think it's going to be tough to unlock those dudes when you don't have a defensive end that strikes fear in anybody's heart. Dorrance Armstrong is cool, but he's not a dominant force. We know Cleveland Farrell is just essentially a first and second down run-stuffing defensive end. Dante Fowler Jr. is good in spurts, but even he isn't like this, you know, ridiculous get to the quarterback type of edge rusher. That position needs work. That position needs work. And again, you can't fix everything in one offseason. We had 0 defensive ends going into free agency other than the 2 guys that were here from last year's draft, Andre Jones Jr. and KJ Henry. So we had nothing. They had to go out and they went and overhauled that entire position and revamped it and signed 4 guys, including bringing back F.A. Obata. But the 3 guys you just mentioned were all guys that they signed in addition to F.A. And I don't know if any of those guys are true needle movers. I think, you know, Dorrance Armstrong he'll be good, but he's not a 1 pass rusher. He's a 2, right? You still don't have that alpha on the edge, I don't think, which is fine. I didn't expect them to be able to fix everything in year 1. But what are my expectations? I'm putting the onus on this group, being the Joe Witt Jr. and the defensive coaches and Quinn and company. I'm putting the onus on them to find a way to manufacture pressure. The last group, when we traded away Montez Sweat and Chase Young, couldn't manufacture pressure. They were incapable of manufacturing pressure without guys that could just win one-on-one matchups. I want to see this group come in here and utilize guys like Frankie Louvu and Jamon Davis, who may be able to get to the quarterback from a blitzing standpoint and really help those edge rushers get to the quarterback, get home, right? You might be so preoccupied with picking up Frankie Louvu, who's blitzing up the A gap, that you pinch down, and now all of a sudden Cleveland Farrell gets a clean rush at the quarterback, or Dante Fowler Jr. or Dorrance Armstrong. We might be running these twists and stunts, and you're so preoccupied with stopping Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen that here comes Dorrance Armstrong looping around unabated to the quarterback. Like, find ways to generate pressure and sacks. That's what I think they're going to have to do, honestly speaking. I don't see just rushing forward and consistently getting to the quarterback. But I could be wrong about that. I hope I'm wrong about that. I don't expect much out of the defensive ends. I told you I think the guy that's going to lead our team in sacks is Frankie Louvu. So I'm not really expecting a whole hell of a lot. So I'll just say this. If you want me to put a number on it, Fowler Jr. gets you 5.5. Farrell gets you 2. And Dorrance Armstrong gets you 7. So between the three of them, 5.5, 7, and 2, that's 14.5 sacks. That's solid. Between 3 dudes, that's solid. You're well on your way to having 48 sacks, which is a respectable number on the season. If those 3 guys get you 14.5 sacks, you feel like Payne and Allen are probably going to at least combine, get you 10, get you double digits. You're hoping one of them goes ape shit, like Payne did in his contract year. You're hoping that you can combine those 2 for 20. That'd be great. Like one of them get 12, the other get 8, one of them gets 11.5, the other gets 9.5, or 8.5, right? You'd like to combine the 2 of them for 20, but whatever the case may be, if you get 14.5 out of the trio of those 3, you'll feel good about it. No matter how it's divvied up, whether it's 5, 5, and 4, or somebody goes off and has 9, and Farrell only has 1, and Fowler Jr. has 4.5, and Armstrong has 9. You don't really care how you get the 14.5, but if you can get 14.5 out of that group, you'll feel good. I think you would feel good about that. I'd prefer it to be Armstrong leading the way, almost at double digits. That'll make me feel really good about the prospects of him moving forward. I think what they were able to do in Dallas was they manufactured his pressure. I don't think he won a ton of just like flat out one-on-one matchups, a lot of stunts and twists. And then you were so preoccupied with Micah Parsons in Dallas that other guys got to eat. We'll see if he can win on his own, if they can manufacture pressure here and he can still find a way. A lot of his wins inside came because he had the speed and quickness advantage because they reduced him inside. I don't think that's going to happen here in Washington a ton. So we'll see what happens. Maybe they will use him in that regard. Mabo Huncho 6. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, "What's good, Lou? Me and my bro got a wager on the Saints game. What do you think? We will beat them? If not, I'm forfeiting. And for the chat, like the vid, people. I appreciate that public service announcement. If you haven't already hit the like button, please do so. Get that thing up over 200 likes if you can. I like our chances against the Saints. I know it's in New Orleans, which is not the easiest place to play, but I've already told you my disrespect for Derek Carr at this point of his career. And like, if we're getting to the quarterback, Derek Carr is a B word, right? He's such a B word. He can't stand contact. So he'd rather throw it up for grabs on some no-look Eli Manning shit than standing there like a G and deliver the ball. So I got minimal respect for him. If we can get to them and he's still at quarterback, I like my chances against them. I like our chances against them. But we got to see where we are at that point. I don't remember when we play New Orleans. I think it's towards the back end of the season, though. Let's check and see real quick when we play them. All right. We play the Saints in week 15. Yeah, so we play them post-bye. I like our chances. I like our chances a lot. Coming off the bye. We've been a bad team off the bye. No success under Ronald Rivera off the bye. We've been actually pretty bad coming off the bye. I don't think we won a single game in his 4 years coming off the bye. Let's see. His first year, we went on the bye, came off the bye in 2020 and played the Giants at home and lost. 2021, we had the bye week. I lied. That was the year. 2021, we went into the bye at 2-6, and we had the defending champion Buccaneers at home coming off the bye, and it felt like that felt like a kamikaze mission. That felt like a death trap if there was ever one set for us after losing to the Teddy Bridgewater-led Denver Broncos. prior to the bye. Montez Sweat having his jaw busted up, pretty much out for the rest of the season. Yeah. That's the one time we won. The two following years, 22 and 23, we had the latest bye you could have, and we came off of those byes and lost to the 49. I want to say it was the 49ers one year. No, it was we had the tie against the Giants in 22, and then we lost to the Dolphins. But the Dolphins, no, we lost to the 49ers this year. We lost to the 49ers. The Dolphins was the last game prior to the bye. So yeah, we were 1-1-2 under Rivera, which is a crazy number. Post bye, we weren't a very good team after the bye week. Hopefully that changes here. I think we can go to New Orleans and win. Duncan Wright, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Duncan writes, yo, Lou, you doing Pat Night, Lou? Want a drink tomorrow? See, here we go. Clearly, you've had a couple now. I don't know what you're asking me. You're asking me something about tomorrow. I don't know. I can tell you this. I won't be in the office tomorrow night. So it's Memorial Day weekend. We're getting out of the house. We're going to see family. So I won't be in the office over the weekend. So now we not having no drinks. I might be having some drinks at a remote location, but it won't be on the live kicking it with y'all, right? King of the North. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. King of the North writes, quote, that franchise guy, a semi-respected YouTube channel, graded our draft as one of the worst in the NFL and recently ranked us 32nd in his power ranking. He's very low on JD. He's not a Skins hater historically. Surprised me, shaking my head. So everybody's entitled to their opinion. That's the beauty of the draft. If he's not high on Jaden Daniels, then he's not going to be high on our draft, more likely than not. Part of the reason that you would be a little bit enthusiastic about Washington is because of Jaden Daniels. So if you already have a preconceived notion of what he's going to be, you don't already love our offensive line. And so there's a lot of reasons why you would not like Washington if you don't like Jaden Daniels. I don't know how you could not like, but again, if you don't like our draft, again, it's all subjective. I know some people who didn't love our draft, who thought that what we did with all those second round picks was meh. They didn't love Ben Sinnott selection. They didn't trade him back when you could have selected the Iowa corner and trading back and allowing the Eagles. And then that's what you do with those picks. Like there were some people I've seen takes where they were like, yeah, I didn't think they did enough with those second round picks. They didn't love our draft, right? Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. You got us at 32nd. That's cool. Again, it's hard for me to look around the landscape of the NFL and see 31 other teams better than us. Could I see 20 other teams better than us? Can I see 25 teams being better than us? Sure. But you're going to look me in my eyes and tell me the Carolina Panthers, after what you watched a season ago, they're better than us right now? You're really seriously going to tell me that? Again, we play them this year. So we'll see. I look at what the Titans did this offseason. Not impressed. We'll see what they ultimately are. What's their identity moving forward? Yeah, they went and got Tony Pollard. But Derrick Henry was so much of what they were. We'll find out. And if Will Levis is good, they'll be okay. If he's not, they're going to be a train wreck, potentially. We'll see what happens. They're on our schedule. The Arizona Cardinals are on our schedule. We play Tampa Bay in week 1. We can get the Bucs in week 1. Like, that's the kind of team, if you're going on the road week 1, that's the kind of team you want to play in week 1 because you're going to have a chance to get them, right? They're winnable games on our schedule. Not to mention, we have the Giants. I get it. And if Giants fans are out there, they're saying, bro, keep our name out your mouth, bro. You haven't beaten us in 2 years, 2 full seasons. You have not given us an L. Facts. Facts. But they're on the schedule twice. Come on, man. 32nd in the league? That's crazy to me. But this is the time of the year that you're allowed to have those type of hot takes. Sometimes you do it for effect. Sometimes you actually believe that. Sometimes you do it because this is the thing, and this is in any form of entertainment. You want to be one of two things. One, you want to be polarizing. And you either want to be beloved or you want to be hated. But you don't want people indifferent. You don't want people looking at you and, it's whatever. You either want to be loud and right, or you want to be loud and wrong. But just being loud isn't good enough. Okay? Just being loud isn't good enough. Sometimes people do things like 2-15 for effect. Because you know what that's going to do? It's going to get a rise out of Washington Commanders fans. It's going to get a rise out of Titans fans. It may not be for the right reasons, but you don't care about the traffic, why the traffic is there. You just want the traffic, right? So people do things like that so that they're relevant. You're saying your guy isn't a hater. Just because you picked us as the 32nd ranked team in the league doesn't mean he's a hater. You can just believe we're not very good. And he's entitled to that opinion. I vehemently disagree, though. And having watched what we watched last season, there's no way you can convince me that we're a worse team and organization than the one we put forth a season ago. We should have known. There were warning signs last year that we ran through. There were red lights and stop signs that we just ran through last year. We got what we deserved. I can't speak for y'all. I got what I deserved. When Terry McLaurin got into it with Eric Bieniemy in training camp, that was a sign. When somebody bitched about Eric Bieniemy and Ronald Rivera's dumbass was too stupid to keep that shit in house, the signs were there. They were telling us that this is about to be a train wreck. They couldn't even get out of their own way in the summertime. But we were so blinded. I was so blinded. I don't want to speak for you guys. I was so blinded by the prospects of Sam and EB and just wanting to win and hoping that we finally had enough. That I convinced myself that, no, this is what we need. We need somebody to come in here and spice it up. I can't envision a season in which we are worse than what we were a year ago. And even last year, we weren't the worst team in football, when you could argue we were the worst team in football. You get what I'm saying? So, that franchise guy is entitled to his opinion. I strongly disagree with him. I'll just leave it at that. Video channel. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Video channel writes, sup, Lou? Sup, video channel? I think Brandon Coleman is definitely a tackle. Left, I'm not sure, but the man's feet are quick and he moves too well to stay inside. I think he's a tackle too, but he's going to have to prove it at the NFL level. I trust this scouting department, man. Like, Adam Peters looked me in my eyes and said, bro, this man's a tackle. I didn't believe him when he first told me that. I had to go watch for myself, and I came back and I was like, all right, Adam, I owe you an apology. I think he's a tackle too. How good? We're going to find out. But I think he's a tackle as well. So, we're going to see. Is he a left tackle? Is he a right tackle? Once again, we'll see. But I do think there is a future in the NFL for this young man as a tackle. And I think ultimately it's going to be on the left side because that's where he's most comfortable. But if he has to make that transition to right tackle, so be it. So we'll see. It's good to know that worst case scenario, if it doesn't work out for him on the outside, he could always kick inside. He can always kick inside. King of the North. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. King of the North. Right. Cards fans remember Cliff Kingsbury's offense is lacking imagination, under utility motions and audibles and bland shotgun runs. If JD turns out to be legit, it will open up things more, but I'm just saying, food for thought. And here's my rebuttal to that. All of that stuff that you just mentioned, I've heard that. And not just from Cardinals fans. I've heard that from people who watched the Cardinals offense, who studied it and said, this is where things went wrong. This is why they would start seasons off fast and then fizzle out towards the end, right? Remember, in 2021, or was it 2020? I think it was 2021. He got fired after the 2022 season. So 2021, they started out 8-0. They were the last undefeated team in the league, and they flamed out and limped to the finish line of the regular season, made it to the playoffs, and then got destroyed by the Rams in the first round. And it was one of the most lackluster playoff performances, and people were questioning Kyler Murray and questioning Cliff Kingsbury after that. And you could see the writing on the wall. That next season did not go well, and he got fired, right? So there's a lot of that floating out there. My rebuttal to that is, one, he's no longer in charge of the entire team. He's just now the offensive coordinator. And you could say, well, that's all he was really doing when he was the head coach, was really just coaching the offense. Touche. You might be right about that. Two, people adapt, adjust, and change. You don't think he learned from his mistakes? You don't think that he had a chance? Part of the reason he didn't take a really, I think, this is me personally, I think he got away from like being a coach of any sort last year. I'm pretty sure there was a job out there. If he wanted to go to college football, he could have been a head coach again. I think he could have been somebody's off. At worst, he could have went to some collegiate program and been somebody's offensive coordinator if he wanted to. He could have jumped right back in the fray, right? He didn't want to. He wanted to take some time, get away. I think he wanted to recharge his battery. That's why he became like a consultant for USC. He wanted to kind of see what was being done out there, kind of see, what he could pick up, what he could learn, maybe adapt and adjust, make some changes to some of the things that he was doing. I think he grew from the experience he had in the NFL. I really, truly do. I don't think you're going to get the same Cliff Kingsbury. I don't know if he'll ever be a high motion guy, like where motions and shifts are things that he uses and utilizes pre-snap to, force the defense to have to think or adjust and adapt. I don't know if he'll ever be that guy or not. But I think the simplicity of his offense and some of the things that he failed to adjust and adapt to, I think you'll see him start to do a little bit more of that. And that's, I think, part of the reason they put so many different types of coaches around him to kind of help him with that as well, right? So many different voices and so many guys that have done it at a coordinator and a head coaching level around him that they can give him input. As DQ calls it, blind spots. Sometimes you got blind spots, and you need those around you to be able to help you see some of those blind spots and avoid some of the pitfalls that come with those blind spots that may be there. And I think it's going to be different for Cliff this time around. But again, that's my optimism, spewing out through each and every nook and cranny of my body, seeping out of every pore. I'm an optimist at my core, but I think he took that season away to study under Lincoln Riley, to see what he was doing, to really hit the reset button and refresh himself. And I think we're going to be the beneficiaries of that. I really, truly do. But we'll see, right? There are question marks. Cliff Kingsbury doesn't come in here with this squeaky clean track record, and he doesn't come in here without faults and without question marks. Just add him to the list of guys that are here with those things. The only guy that comes in here with a relatively high approval rating across the league is Adam Peters. There are going to be some DQ haters out there, people that don't think he's a good coach. My sister can't stand Dan Quinn. She's a Falcons fan, right? She thinks he's awful, right? Cowboys fans will tell you he was the reason we lost to Green Bay. Like, everybody's going to have something to say. And you can go down the list of all of our assistant coaches that have been elsewhere, and people will try to pick them apart too. Nobody's clean in all of this. The hope is they come together and they make this beautiful product, and the end result is success here in Washington. And that's what you do. You try to learn from your mistakes. Dan Quinn talked about learning from his mistakes in Atlanta and wanting to do it differently this time. I'd like to think that Cliff Kingsbury is doing the same thing. That year off, self-evaluation. Here's the things that went wrong in Arizona. Here's where I need to be better. And he did some good things too. It wasn't all bad in Arizona. But he did some good things too. But you take the things that you didn't do well, you learn from that, and you try to adapt and adjust and be better the next time. And I think that's what he's going to do here. At least that's my interpretation of it. We'll see. You could be spot on, and all those Cardinals fans could be, spot on, and he can come here and be the same damn offensive coordinator that he was the head coach in Arizona. I just like to think that he's grown and adjusted. That was his first time in the NFL. He got a chance to see the game. He got to see what teams did in adjusting to what he was doing. And now he may have a better working knowledge of what to expect, how to counteract some of the things that they're going to try to do, and how they're going to try to take things away. Have an answer and a plan for that now. Well, we'll see. T-Money. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. T-Money writes, sup, Lou? Sup, T-Money? Okay, so the reason I believe we can win 9 games is because before EB, we won 8. And our roster is much better than it was then. Salute. So there's faults with that logic. Okay, so that's faulty logic. But here's where you're not wrong. With better coaching, you can get more out of a team than with better talent but poor coaching, right? I think from a talent perspective, this roster isn't that far off from the team that won 8 games 2 years ago. Was it 8 games? Because Rivera was stuck on 7. Was that the 8-1 season 2 years ago? Yeah, it was 8-1. So I think the roster is very comparable to that team. You could argue it's even better. We'll see. The coaching is far superior. That's without even seeing this group coach a game. I don't give a shit. They're better. You can't be any worse than the staffs that we've watched Ronald Rivera put together the last 4 years. They've been awful. Awful. Not one time that we have a guy that was in the running to be a head coach anywhere. I can't think of one positional coach that got an interview to become a defensive coordinator or an offensive coordinator somewhere. We were awful. Our staffs were garbage. There was no talent here. So from that perspective, I understand your logic from that perspective, but it's faulty. And this is why I say it's faulty, because there's no carryover from year to year, right? Because you won 8 one year doesn't mean you're going to improve and win 9 or 10. The schedule that we played that year lend itself potentially to us having some success. There's just a lot of factors that go into, why you end up with the record that you have. I'll say this though. You look at the schedule, it's a doable schedule. You got to find a way to win some games. You got to start beating teams that you feel like you're better than. You got to start finding ways to win a game or two that you probably shouldn't win. And you got to find yourself in the fourth quarter with a chance. And that's all you ever ask for, because you never know what's going to happen. But you got to be in the game in the fourth quarter with an opportunity. 9 wins. The ball would have to bounce our way, and we'd have to have some things happen in our favor to get to 9. I strongly believe that 9 is something that would come because we were very fortunate in a number of areas to have things go in our favor. That's a pretty robust number for the type of team that we'll be fielding this year, and how raw we are as an organization from top to bottom, the newness of everything. It could work in our favor where everybody doesn't know, other teams that we're playing don't have an idea of what to prepare for. But usually being, raw and having inexperience and having a team that hasn't had a chance to gel and mesh together, usually that works against you. It doesn't work for you a lot of times. So, we'll see, right? We'll see. Duncan Wright. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. Duncan writes, let's get this straight, Lou. My mom was a Redskins fan. I'm aware. You've told us multiple times. Not Commanders. So don't you dare tie my DNA to the Commanders. And yes, I'm tipsy. Fun times. Meh. I'm pretty sure you are. You're tipsy, but you're not drunk. There's a difference. Tipsy Duncan is still coherent. He's able to have coherent thoughts, and as best you can still be able to convey those thoughts. Drunk Duncan is absolutely useless in the form of communication. It's over, bro. So yeah, you can be tipsy. That's fine. You've proven that while tipsy, still functional. You have yet to prove that when you are drunk, still functional. Okay, you've yet to prove that. I know you're not a Commanders fan. I know you're an Eagles fan. We all know that. Okay, so I don't know why you would think that I confuse you as one, but trust me, I'm not. Calvin Krim, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy Calvin writes, hey Lou, what's up, Cal? I just realized that if a big-time player gets cut, we might actually be in a place he'd want to sign. AP and DQ have been a godsend. So here's the thing, is they're building an organization that free agents. Remember, there was a survey maybe like 3-4 years ago. Bruce Allen was still here. And it was like a survey about agents and where they would advise their clients to go and who was the hardest team to work with, and XYZ, etc. We were one of the worst in the league because Bruce Allen was here, and agents, say he was a nightmare to work with, and they would advise their clients to steer clear of Washington. And so, yeah, it was a really bad place to be. Even when Ronald got here, still remember Ronald used to go every year after we would get eliminated from postseason contention. Season's done. He'd go on Radio Row during the Super Bowl, and he'd go on this world tour of promoting this organization and trying to convince people, to no avail, I may add, that this was a place they wanted to be. This is a destination that you want to come to because we're changing the culture here. And he tried to use that to recruit a Russell Wilson and a Matthew Stafford, and all of that shit fell on deaf ears. And instead, you ended up with Ryan Fitzpatrick and Carson Wentz because nobody was buying his shit. We're in a whole different headspace now. We got Bobby Wagner to come here because in order to attract good players, you have to first have good people, right? That's what Marcus Mariota talked about at the podium yesterday, and we talked about that. He said, I'm here because they have guys that are good people, and you want to be surrounded by good people. Forget about coaches. These are good dudes. People don't want to come to work every day and be in an environment where the coaching staffs, they're assholes and they're hard to work with and hard to work for. You want to come to an environment where it's just genuine good dudes, right? These guys actually care about us on and off the field. He's like, man, I love Brian Johnson, Marcus Mariota said. Like, it's good dudes here. And when you create that environment, players want to come play for you. That's how you end up getting a Zach Ertz. That's how you end up getting a Bobby Wagner. Those guys, Zach Ertz and Bobby Wagner wouldn't have come here a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, so forth and so forth. They wouldn't have come here 6 months ago. We're in a much better place. And it starts at the top with Josh Harris and his ability to hire people of, high quality, let them do their jobs, and you've seen what it's manifested itself into. I can't speak for you. I can't recall being in this space as a fan. It's almost to the point where I'm like, I don't know how to be because we haven't been here. I can't harken back to a time where I can say, oh, I remember what this was like. This never happened to me as a fan. By the time I was of the age where I knew what was going on in the front office, it was already disarray. I just saw the product on the field when I first became a fan of this team. And they were winning. So it was great. Little did I know that there was so much that went into that. And as I later came to know, it's a lot that goes into it. And if it's not right at the top, you got no chance on the field. Well, times are changing. Times are a-changing. King of the North, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, King of the North, writes, I love it when the media disrespects us. One, we deserve it. Facts. Big facts. Okay. Two, it just takes pressure off a first-year head coach and a rookie quarterback. I mean, who are we kidding? When have you ever seen a situation where there's a first-year head coach and a rookie quarterback and you didn't suck? When does that ever happen? When does that pairing happen and you're a good football team? It never happens. And it's rare that a rookie, coach or first-year head coach and a rookie quarterback come in the same year and the team is good and their expectations. That doesn't happen. Because if you're drafting a rookie quarterback that is expected to play, that means there's no veteran there keeping him on the bench. There's no Aaron Rodgers or no Brett Favre keeping you at bay, right, while you cook on the sidelines. There's no Alex Smith to keep you, on the bench and allow you to learn. There's no, John Kitna if you're Carson Palmer allowing you to learn for a season. You got to get in there. And if you're a first-year head coach, you're there because the guy before you sucked. Rarely is it that the guy retired and, you're coming into a situation that was successful the year before. It's not how this works. So, yeah, I mean, it takes pressure off the first-year head coach and rookie quarterback. But if you got a rookie quarterback and a first-year head coach, there were no expectations to begin with, more likely than not. 3, it gives us a chance to make the haters eat crow. Just adds fuel to the fire, brother. Oh, of course it does. I'm a chip on the shoulder guy. I'm a guy that feeds off of that kind of stuff. I love when people talk shit. I love when people doubt me. And I'm just talking about me in general, just doing anything. I love when people talk shit. I love when people doubt me. That only just ramps up my competitive nature even more so. And it makes me want to stick it to you that much more, right? Makes me want to prove you wrong so I can talk my shit. So, yeah, all of that stuff. And, what I'm still waiting for as a fan, and we've had this conversation many a times. If you've been here for a while, then you know this. We've had this conversation on numerous occasions. We don't handle success well as an organization. We haven't. I'm hoping that that's different now with this new group. But when we've been at our best, it's been when nobody expected anything from us. To me, that's cool, but that's not sustainable. What they're trying to build here is sustainability. Being able to win. Like, I was so impressed with what the Lions did last year. Why? Because the year prior, nobody saw the Lions coming. Oh, you got Jared Goff. That's cute. You know, nobody's buying that. We're all looking at Jared Goff as a placeholder for when you end up getting this quarterback to take his spot. And even when they won 9 games in 2022 and finished the season winners of, 8 out of their final 10, they drafted Hendon Hooker in the 3rd round, and we all said, there it is right there. Yep, there it is. Hendon Hooker will be their starting quarterback in a year or two. We weren't buying Jared Goff. Now Jared Goff is the 2nd highest paid quarterback in the NFL. 2nd highest paid player in the NFL. So, I say all of that to say this. I respected what the Lions did more last year because people saw them coming. People knew, hey, they out here hungry. Their head coach said, hey, when you hear that knock at the door, you ain't got to go far, right? You ain't got to go far. We standing on your porch, bro. We waiting for you to come outside. You ain't got to look for us. We coming to you. We want the smoke. We know we are no longer the hunters. We are the hunted, and we want that. So when you hear that knock at the door, it's us. Bring your bitch ass outside. We waiting on you. That's what he essentially said, and then they went out and backed up their coach's assertions by going 12-5, winning the division, winning a playoff game, winning another playoff game, and should have went to the Super Bowl. We have yet to watch this organization act in that fashion or manner. We've had those one-off seasons where we got hot, made a run, made the postseason. Now teams are looking at us the next year saying, all right, what you got for an encore? And we bitch up the next year because we don't know how to handle that. So even after we have success one year, I'm going to be dying to see if the cycle has been broken with this new group. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt because, that's what I do. But in the back of my mind, I'm a human. So subconsciously, I'm going to be saying, man, all right, what y'all got? They know we coming now. Ain't no more, woe is us, poor little commanders. We just trying to fight and have a shot. Now they're like, nah, we going to bust y'all ass because y'all supposed to be good now. So we going to see how good y'all really are. And I want to see that too, but we got to get there first. We actually got to establish ourselves as a team to be reckoned with, a force to be reckoned with. We clearly aren't there yet. But when you're doubted in that manner, 2-15, that's so disrespectful on so many different levels. We deserve disrespect, but not to that degree. I think most of us will agree. We deserve disrespect. We deserve it. We earned that. 2-15 though feels a bit much. It feels personal. Feels a bit much. You said the guy on the channel that you watch had us 32nd. That feels a bit much. That feels a little bit personal. Right? We drafted a quarterback you didn't like. You didn't like our draft class because you didn't like the quarterback we drafted. So I'm gonna teach you a lesson, make you 32nd. Because if you look at the team and you look at what's been done this season, and you look at other teams. So the Panthers getting Xavier Legette makes them better than us somehow. I think Bryce Young is going to be better in year 2, personally. How much better, I don't know. And I like the fact that they hired a young offensive coordinator as a head coach who had success with Baker Mayfield, and they're hoping he can do the same for Bryce Young. But don't for one second confuse what you think they could do with what they did last year. And they didn't change. Like, fundamentally, they're still who they are. They made some changes, but their owner is still their owner. They still got a lot of work to do. Like, they're the same team until they show me otherwise. We're a totally different organization. But again, I'm biased, right? Because Panthers fans will tell you, no, we're a different organization. Not like us. We got a new owner. We got a new GM. You know, you got a new GM, but you promoted a guy from within. So it's kind of like your owner's still in charge, and he just hired a guy that he can still control, and Dan Morgan. And so it kind of feels like y'all just reshuffled the deck a bit, if I'm being honest. It's not the same. But again, we'll see. I know I'm excited. That's all I can say. I can't speak for anybody else out there. I'm excited about the future. I'm excited about the present. I'm excited about what's being done. And I can't wait to see the product on the field start to mirror the excitement level and all the moves that have been made to reshape this organization. What's going to get people to believe, what's going to get the fans to come back, what's going to get the excitement level to match how I feel and how a lot of you feel is, and outside of our bubble, to get that excitement level matched is going to take wins. That's what's going to change that narrative. Duncan Wright, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, Commanders stink. Hopefully the last chat. Ha ha. What would a successful stream with you involved in it be without you telling us that we stink or we suck? I was expecting that at some point. You indirectly referenced that a couple of times, but what would it be without you being direct? Calvin Krim, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, Lou, do you predict AP making a trade before camp? I wouldn't rule it out, but no, I don't see him doing anything. I wouldn't rule it out though. What, like, in my mind, what would he be trading for? Like, for me, unless there's a player that aligns with where you're heading and you really like this player a lot and you see an opportunity, trades to me are for teams that are close. Not Bruce Allen close, like legitimately close. Because in a trade, you have to give something up. And I'm not willing to give up anything if I'm not close to winning something meaningful. I need all my assets. I need all my stuff. Unless I see that player, like, you're not trading for a short-term fix. Like, a lot of you are like, hey, we need to get a left tackle. We need to get this. We need to get that. If that guy's a Band-Aid solution, like, I'm not trading for a Charles Leno Jr. type player. We got those on the roster. We can just start one of those dudes. Why do I need to trade for that? Like, if an opportunity to get a young tackle presented itself, a guy that you could see here for being here for the next 6, 7, 8 years, yeah, I could see him trading for that guy. Same with any other position. Doesn't have to be a tackle necessarily, but it'll have to be something like that. But again, we're not in a position where you expect to win anything meaningful this year. So you're not looking to necessarily skip steps. To me, making trades come at the last step before you win a chip. Like, when you're on the cusp and you just need that push over the top, that's when trades start to come into effect. You're either looking to get pieces that you think are going to help you get to where you ultimately want to go, like the Bears. When they traded for Chase Claypool, they thought he was going to be a part of their future. Little did they know he was only going to last there like a half a season before they moved on from him. Same thing they did. They did the same thing with Montez Sweat. They traded for him in season, gave up a second-round pick, just like they gave up a second-round pick for Chase Claypool. But this time they got it right, and they signed him long-term. That they weren't ready to win, but they saw that guy as a long-term piece. When they feel like they're ready to compete, which the Bears think they're going to compete this year, they think that Caleb Williams is going to come in. They've surrounded him with talent. They've been building this roster. They think they're ready to compete now. They think Caleb Williams is going to come in and help right away. That's why they traded for Montez Sweat. That's when a trade makes sense, when you're either close or you see a piece that's going to help. I don't know if that opportunity is going to present itself. If it does, I could see AP pouncing, but I don't foresee that happening. I don't. Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Metaphor writes, "Oh, Lou with the names. Is it my boy Huncho?" It might be. I'm trying to think about it in my head. Now that you said something, there may be an extra B in there. You know how I do. If you mash it all together and you make me like, I do. You know what's crazy though? I'm one of those dudes that when I'm at the light and the car's in front of me and I'm reading your license plates, I want to try to decipher, because people, you know, they do a play on words with their license plates. They use numbers to, you know, enunciate words and things of that nature. So I'm one of those people that try to figure out if there's a coded message in your license plate. But that's when you got time. Like, I'm trying to rip through these fast, so I'm not as diligent as I should be. I should be analyzing these names. Like Burger the Butcher. Remember, I was killing his name for the longest time. I forgot what I was calling him. There was one guy. I forgot what his name was. His name, his name was Dre. I was calling him Drew for the longest time. And it was as clear as day. It said DRE. I was calling this man Drew for like 2 years. And then one time he just finally got tired of me calling him Drew. And he was like, it rhymed because I think it rhymed with the rest of his name. But he's like, yeah, it's actually Dre. And I looked at it, I was like, bro, the shit say Dre. Like, what have I been doing this entire time, right? Sometimes I'm just moving too fast, and I don't stop to look and analyze shit. Sometimes it'd be right there in front of me, right? What was the other one? You know, one of them I didn't know. The one that was like Haitian or something like that. And somebody's like, yo, I think that's actually how that's pronounced. I didn't know. I would never have known that. Like, oh, okay, cool. But it was one that y'all told me, and I was like, oh. And I looked at it, and I was like, oh, damn. That one was pretty easy. I just didn't take the time to decipher it, right? Because, you know, people get creative with their YouTube names and shit. That one, it was mashed together, and it was too many B's and O's, and yeah, I jacked that one up probably. I appreciate you, so I won't keep messing his name up. I appreciate when y'all don't let me mess somebody's name up for 2 years or 6 months or a year and a half before you tell me that I'm messing it up. You said, I'm going to step in and help you immediately. I appreciate that metaphor. I do. I really do. GT7, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. GT7, thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Right. Hey, Lou. Love the grind. Really appreciate you, GT. Says, Jaden's VR usage is going to take his game to another level. What do you think? And kick rocks to 2-win seasons, shaking my head. I mean, that VR training is what helped him take that massive leap from, you know, he had never had a season where he had more than, I think it was 19 touchdown passes. I don't think he ever had a season with more than that. So he'd never eclipsed 20 touchdown passes in his collegiate career. And he had 4 seasons under his belt up until that point. And he goes from, you know, a career high of like 19 to 40. And the interception totals had always been low. I think his most interceptions in the season might have been 12. But the number was always relatively low. He was always a guy that was careful with the football. But to see that kind of massive leap, you know, we heard about his work ethic and all of that, but a lot of people that were close to him said that the VR training was among the things that kind of stood out and set him apart and really helped him take his game to the next level. So I would assume that's something that he's probably continuing to do. And yeah, I do think that's going to help him, right? It's hard to simulate game action, but, you know, virtual reality is as close as you're probably going to get, right? I was watching Cars 3 with my kids, and they had this machine where Lightning McQueen and all the other cars, that the newer cars, were jumping on this machine that simulated racing. And you're driving on this platform, but it's virtual reality. So you're driving and you got to try to maneuver cars. So it's simulating a race, which is hard to do without actually going out on the track and doing it, but it can help you improve. I would imagine that's the same thing with virtual reality, right? So, yeah. Maurice Amos. Oh, and you had another one. Oh, yeah. Damn right, Kick Rocks to a 2-win season, man. I almost feel bad for bringing it up, but I only brought it up because I know that the disrespect is coming. And I think it's going to be coming in droves because we've built up this infrastructure of safety where we feel good, and you hear people echo those sentiments, and you thinking, yeah, we're going to win 8-9 games this year. And I just want you to understand that's not the national narrative. Nor should it be, by the way. I'm not upset that that's not the national narrative. Like King of the North said, we earned the disrespect. I think 2-15 is a bit harsh, though. I don't think we earned 2-15, but we earned being one of the worst teams in football. I get it. Maurice Amos, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Maurice writes, "Hey Lou, hope you're doing well, brother. I am, and likewise, hope you're doing equally as well, if not better. I remember asking you about Jamin, what his ceiling to you, and the league doubts us because they don't pay attention. You might have been the one that asked me about him and could he play edge rusher. I don't think he'll be an edge rusher, but I do think he's going to rush the quarterback more this season, if that makes sense. And as far as the league not paying attention to us, we've given them no reasons, Maurice, to pay attention to us. We won 4 games last year. We were a train wreck. Every time they put us on national television, we embarrassed ourselves. Why would they pay attention to us? We let a winless Bears team come into our building and put up 40 on us. We go to Dallas on Thanksgiving and we got them dunking and alley-ooping and eating turkey legs on us. Like, we're a joke. Like, if you don't follow the Commanders and the 2 times you see them during the year, they embarrass themselves and regurgitate all over themselves both times, what are you supposed to think? You make your bed, you got to lie in it. I'm not mad about that. I'm just disappointed that they think so little of us that no matter the changes that have been made, they still see us as a bottom-feeding team that could be 2-15. I think that is just ridiculous. But again, we've earned that track record. So we got to change the narrative. You don't like it, change it. Duncan Wright, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Duncan writes, your owner is a basketball player, not a football. I mean, a basketball owner, not a football owner. I think he's more, inclined towards the basketball side of things, but he's never owned a football team. But he grew up a football fan. He's got his hands in a lot of different things, and I think football is something, it's all new to him. So he's been a part of a lot of the processes this first time around because all of it is new. But I won't say that he's a basketball owner. It doesn't matter if you think he's a basketball owner or not. If he's willing to hire people that he respects, that are smart people, that he's going to allow to do their jobs, it doesn't matter. That's all you can ask for out of an owner. Hire smart people, move out of the way, and allow them to do their job. Give them all the resources that they need and get out of the way. You can ask questions. You can, and that's what it seems like he's all about. He just wants to know why. Skip, just tell me why. I'm not telling you can't do it. I just want to know why. Is this the best, mode of, operating? Is this the best action that we can take? If you give him a convincing answer as to why it is, okay, he's down for the cause. Make it happen. C Trill, been a member for 6 months. Appreciate you, who writes, "What's up, Lou? This run D will be top 10, defense in general, top 15. We'll see. I like the fact that we finally got linebackers that are going to attack the line of scrimmage and be tackling machines. I think that was the missing ingredient with our defense as far as run defense is concerned the last, 3-4 years. When we couldn't stop the run, like literally because our linebackers were so bad, we had to go to the bare defense a lot of times where we'd play 5 defensive linemen. We had to do that because our linebackers were trash. So in order for you to not allow the running back to get to that second level, you had to put an extra defensive lineman on the field. Now you don't have to do that anymore. You don't have to do that anymore. You got linebackers that's going to actually take advantage of Daron Payne taking on 2 guys or Jonathan Allen shooting the A-gap and forcing them to, try to react to him. He might not make the tackle, but now Bobby Wagner's going to clean that shit up. Frankie Louvu's going to clean it up. PF, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Who writes, "The other one was me, pooping for nooping." I remember you used to always just be like, I just want you to say pooping for nooping. I'm trying to think the other one. I'm going to leave that alone because you could be luck. It's probably you pooping for nooping. Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, "Lou, I think it was Mr. Yeto." Nah, it wasn't that one. That goes to show you I've had so many name blunders over the year. That ain't even the one I was talking about. It was another one. I'm gonna tell you what it is the next time I see his name when he super chats. It was another one, and it was Chaotic. That's the one I was thinking about. Chaotic. I was I forgot how I was saying it. I think I was just like literally reading it, how it was spelt with the numbers and everything. And somebody was like, "Yo, I think that's Chaotic." And he was letting me call him some random ass shit I made up or just reading it out, numbers and letters for like a year and a half, 2 years even. And then somebody was like, "Yo, I think that's Chaotic." And then he came after that and was like, "Yeah, it is Chaotic." They just be trying to let me live. And I'm like, bro, don't let me live. Because if you did that shit, I wouldn't let you live. I'm that type of jerk where if you mess something up like that, I'm like, actually, I think it's this, right? My family kills me on that. So they don't let me live for nothing because I stay killing somebody, right? So if y'all see me in a wrong, y'all see me in clear violation, please, by all means, get me right. Because unchecked, I will run amok, okay? I need y'all to have my back here. If you see me stepping outside, stepping out of bounds, I need y'all to pull me back in bounds. Like, hey, bro, I think it's this, right? Mr. Yeto, that was bad particularly because he had already told me it was Mr. Yeto like 3 times and I still messed it up. Then I finally was like, enough's enough. I'm not getting it wrong again. I think he had corrected me twice. I was like, it won't be a third time because that's 3 strikes. You out. I ain't going to let it happen a third time. But yeah, I messed up Mr. Yeto for the longest. But I was thinking about Chaotic. Anyway, yeah, I be all over the place with these names. You know how I do. Y'all got to come at me with some regular shit because I'll mess your name up quick. You know that. I try my hardest. I got to be better. I vow to be better. I got to be better. But anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on this installment of the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. So I'll be out of the office this weekend as it is Memorial Day weekend. So I hope you guys have a fun but safe Memorial Day weekend. And I will return on Tuesday. I'm gonna see if I got time. Man, my kids have been lighting my ass up over the last 2 weeks, which is why my schedule has been so janky. So I think my son's gonna be home with me again. He was with me today. I think he's gonna be home again with me tomorrow. So I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get off the stuff that I want to get off, but I have plans on leaving y'all some content. Hopefully, I'm able to do so. If I don't, y'all know why. Charge it to my head, not my heart. And really, you can't even charge it to my head because I'm locked in. But charge that shit to my kids' account, honestly. But we'll see. I'm gonna try to get some stuff cranked out and leave y'all a little something. But if I can't, you know why. But in any event, enjoy your weekend. Enjoy Memorial Day. Enjoy your family, the festivities. Have a cookout. Get outside the house. And we'll reconvene on Tuesday. Hopefully, I'll be able to pump out a podcast tomorrow. It'll be a quick one during the day. Talk about these NBA playoffs real quick and anything else that I can think of off the top of the dome, and then we'll get out of there if that's even feasible. We'll see. But anyway, Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. Metaphor writes, I said it. Think it's chaotic, maybe. Yeah, you might have been the one to correct me. It was chaotic, and I was messing that up for the longest. I don't remember how he spelled it. That one looks too obvious. I don't think it was that simple. It might have been that simple though. But I think it was something. It was something else in it. No. That O was an 8. I kept saying K80 tick. I think, yeah, that 8. It was 8 and 0, so it wasn't an O. So it was K80 tick, and I kept calling him K80 tick. Because see that one, when you put it that way, it's easy to see it's chaotic, right? But not when I see the 8 and the 0. Which makes it 80. Now I'm thinking of something that has to do with the number 80. It had nothing to do with 80. It was just, he's trying to be different, and that's how he spelled his chaotic, right? So, yeah. Duncan Wright, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Duncan writes, last chat, fly Eagles fly. Thanks, Bad Dog. Italian wine is good. Wine is good in general. I say that, but not all wines are created equal. So I guess he put you onto a wine that tastes good. Kudos for that. I hope y'all suck this year. Oh boy, I hope you guys stink. We'll see what happens. I think this is the last year y'all being really good. So you better take advantage of it. That's how I feel. But anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on this installment of the Command Post Live. I look forward to chopping up with you guys on the other side of the Memorial Day weekend. Be safe out there, as I mentioned. Take care, and I'll see you guys the next time. God bless. Good night.